Hello, hello, you guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, apparently there's an OBS update, and I had no idea about it. So whenever I opened it up, it said, "Hey, you're really doing a bad job of keeping me updated." So here we go. We're starting off exactly where we left off with the Halo. Why is it gay now? And I don't know if I quite agree.
Halo in general, which started, and I know people don't like it when I say this, but Halo had some very Christian inspiration. The
Did it?
original Halo
What are you
did.
talking about?
I mean,
Why?
Master Chief, John 1:17. His name referenced the Bible verse, John 1:17.
What is 117? I mean, I get it now, but like John 117. I never put two and two together on that, you guys. Am I an idiot or what's going on here? I had no idea. Um, I like how the first thing it pulled up right here was a Halo thing. I gotta stop this. Bible. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Um, okay. Well, Master Chief is the truth, and he is basically Jesus Christ reincarnated. He's the coming of the latest Messiah. So, agreed. All right.
So, yeah, I mean,
Although I didn't put two
obviously
and
it
two together at
wasn't
all.
like, it was inspired, right? It had some like Christian inspiration to it. And so to do that and then now do this, which the Bible calls an abomination. The disrespect, man. The disrespect to classic Halo. The disrespect to the roots of classic Halo. Halo used to take themselves so serious. They had like this Bible almost of like, hey, we're not going to break any code on this. Any comics that got made, any third-party partnerships, things like that. It was like, here's our code of conduct. We're going to be extremely strict. We're going to, yeah. That got thrown all out the window after it got passed off to
Strict on
different
what, though?
developers. And it's
Yeah,
just been a
I
giant
get it.
train wreck ever since. But yeah, I miss the good old days of Halo, man. But those days are definitely long gone now, and now you got all this gay crap. And I think part of it is, if you remember back during like the BLM crap and things like that,
Yeah.
there were these
Bandwagons.
streamers that would say, why are these developers, why aren't these companies talking about this? Or they would even go after other streamers who weren't talking about.
I think that sucks because who cares, man? We're here to talk about games. We're here to talk about things that have nothing to do with that. Nobody gives a crap about any of that stuff. I mean, you can say that, but nobody gives a crap about it. Oh my goodness, what happened? Oh, oh, it's my cat. Oh, the buddy. Yeah, nobody cares. Oh, look at her eyes rolling back. Nobody cares about that. That's why I don't like keep the politics out of the game. If I want to deal with politics, I'll go watch politics. I'll go talk to people who talk about politics. If I want a game, I don't give a shit about that. Let's keep it separate. Keep them two separate things, man.
That too. If you didn't put a black square on your Instagram or something like that, then it was like, oh, we see how racist you're being, and like I didn't do that black square thing, right? Um, but it's just like, hey, we notice you, everyone who's being silent. Silence is violence.
Silence is violence,
we
yeah.
see you. Basically, it just got.
I love the idea that silence is violence, as in, like, if I don't say something or do something about something that I don't care about, now I'm associated with the thing that I don't care about. Oh, thanks for the follow. I appreciate you so much. You're awesome. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's like, if I don't care about, like, football, and I think that, like, Colin Patrick or whatever the hell the guy's name is, and he doesn't stand up for the anthem, and I don't, like, comment on that, like, it's just because I don't care. It's not because about the situation in the context of which it's in. It's not that I don't care about the cause or the issue. There's a time and place to talk about things, and that's not it right there.
Got insane. It was not only,
Keep it out of my
hey,
video games.
Even just shutting up wasn't good enough for them. It was like you had to virtue signal their cause, or you're a bigot. You can't, even if you're silent about it. Silence is violence.
Guilty
guys.
by not associating with a side.
Yeah, what we've seen is some of these activists that start working for these companies now, and then now, yeah, even though people have been over this, but they are still on and on about this. Like, disabled replies, they know. Oh, and don't even get me started on a
Maybe I should
TV
get on
show,
X,
Master
guys.
Cheeks. The disrespect. Oh my gosh. That should get more sales, like, for real. That's the
Yeah.
thing, is if you want to appeal to women with these games, just keep
Just
doing
create
what you were
games
already
that they'll
doing that
like.
was good. And women, if it's
See, the thing is that you can't just like make something for the average. You want to hone in on your demographic. So we have all these first-person shooters. Well, who likes to shoot things, guys? You know, who likes to create like little areas and spaces and grow things and do these RPG games? It's more girl focused. Guys like to play games more in general, anyways. A higher percentage of guys play video games than girls. Now that percentage used to be like really offset, and now it's like a little bit more equalized, but it's not even. So it's like, why would you make a shooter which is like 99% guys and like, or maybe 98% now, appeal to the 2%? Like, that's gonna drop the 98 down more, and it's gonna bring the 2% up. But that's because total players go down. That's not because people want to like. That's not because more girls are playing. It's because more guys are like, this is a stupid game. Let me go to a game that's not doing this. So it's like, cater to the people that you want. Don't. Yeah, it's just nonsensical.
good, then some women are going to play it. But if you're going to try to specifically change things up for women or make this more appealing to women, you're going to lose the women who are already fans, like myself, and you're not going to get enough regular women. I mean, we've seen this happen with like what Marvel's been doing with the MCU and all that. They keep trying to appeal to women more, but they're losing the actual. Just make something cool. Just make something cool and women will play. Like Gears of War, man. When Gears of War first came out,
Gears of
huge fan. My
War.
cat right here, he's 15 years
Man, I love
old. I
that.
named him Coltrane because from Coltrane from
Sick.
Gears. It's like Gears actually had a surprisingly bigger amount of female players than would have been anticipated.
Dude, I got my ass beat by some female players in Gears of War back in the day. There was that map that you started on each side and you like went around the corner, and then in the middle there's a sniper and you have to go up the stairs, like the classic 1v1 thing there. Would you ever make a vid on your YouTube journey? Actually, my journey is kind of beginning right now. So if you have any more questions about like the journey itself and what I've been doing, yeah, I'm very like new to YouTube. I've been doing this for about 3 weeks. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, but I have a lot of help. I know a lot of other streamers, and they kind of like help me get to where I am. So if you want to, you can send me a DM and I'll do my best to try to help you out, man. For real.
I'm talking classic years before they started adding the female like
The bloat.
actual
All games have
playable
bloat now.
characters, right? Girls loved it.
Mm.
It was like not something that you would anticipate girls to like, but hey, we did. It was cool.
Doesn't matter.
I think it appealed to a lot of the girls who grew up with brothers and stuff like myself. But hey. So anyway, there you have it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, if you want me to read the Bible to you, you can check out my Bible channel at Bible Time with Melanie Mack. Thank you all again. I will catch you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.
Okay. She wants to read the Bible to us? I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I guess. I was not expecting that from her. After the intro where she was kind of talking about John 1:17, but now everything's starting to click in my head, and I'm a little dumb, guys, but it's starting to click that she like put 2 and 2 together about the John 1:17, because I had no idea about that for Halo, and nor should it matter. So I don't know. It's just crazy. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead and watch the next one. I'm gonna stop doing, because it seems like I always have a problem at the beginning of it. At the beginning of my streams. So I will stop doing the videos that I really want to watch first, so I can actually get those recorded, because I did not record any of that. So that's fine. Whatever. Yep. So why employers hate Gen Z? Oh, shocking that they would hate Gen Z. There's no way. There's no way at all.
According to a survey of over 1,000 hiring managers,
Where's from?
74% consider Gen Z the most difficult generation in the workforce. And
Is that
despite Gen
true?
Z becoming one of the most educated generations in history, nearly half
I
of
don't think
all
that's true.
managers purposely avoid hiring recent grads, raising the
I feel like it's like generational. So like our generation probably hated us, and the generation before, or the generation before us probably hated us. The generation before them probably hated them, and they had this conversation. And then we're going to be having it about the millennials, and the millennials are going to be having it about the next thing. Actually, I'm a millennial. I'm talking about Gen Z, and Gen Z is like I think it's Gen Y after that. Let me know if I'm wrong. But they're gonna just keep going down. So this is not uncommon.
concern,
Wouldn't
will
you want
Gen
to hire
Z
somebody
ever be
older
able to
that matches
meet
your energy and
employers'
has more experience
demands?
anyways?
While each generation entering the workforce has faced accusations of being lazy, entitled, or disloyal, the reality behind these labels is often far more complex.
Hope my
As
parents
the
are
Harvard
millennials.
Business Review highlights, the U.S. working age
I'd be a
population
terrible
is
parent, you
shrinking at a
guys.
rate not seen since World War II. With 3 million fewer individuals than millennials, Gen
Population is
Z's smaller
decreasing.
population adds pressure to an already evolving
It's
workforce,
Gen
highlighting
Z,
the need to examine how
millennials,
the experiences
Gen
and
Alpha.
work habits of previous generations have shaped the modern economy. The silent generation, born between 1928 and 1945, grew up in a time of profound uncertainty, shaped
Hmm.
by the hardships of the Great Depression and the devastation of World War II. As adults, they helped rebuild a society restructured around the Cold War, fostering a mindset focused on working within the system rather than.
Have I ever had a video unexpectedly blow up? Yeah, dude. I've had a couple videos blow up. It's probably why I'm at all popular after just a couple of weeks. I just kind of threw it out there, and it hits. You know, sometimes you just get lucky. So
Challenging it. Programs like the GI Bill expanded access to higher education, fostering a workforce that emphasized technical skills,
hmm
discipline, and steady progression within corporate hierarchies. Their pay your dues mindset not only contributed to the post war economic recovery, but also bolstered labor unions, securing
always.
wages, better working conditions, and the benefits that defined middle class stability. Despite these achievements, real wages have grown by only 0.7% over the last 50 years, accounting to a 18-cent increase as of February of 2022, where today Gen Z emerges as the most pro-union generation in decades, echoing the silent generation's fight for economic fairness, but leveraging digital platforms to amplify their calls for higher wages and equitable working conditions. Yet this approach draws criticism from older generations, often perceiving the demands as being entitled, lacking patience and sacrifice that once defined the traditional labor movements. As the
hmm
silent generation
Yeah.
transitioned into
So
leadership
basically, what they're
roles
saying
throughout the
is there's like
70s.
a lot of differences. How boomers rebelled against the silent generation workforce. It just seems like there was just a lot of differences in general between the different generations because, like, honestly, we have so much internet, we have so much like, what else do we have to do? Also, it's like, why have kids? Why do any of this stuff when you can't afford it? The inflation's out of control, man, and everybody's doing that. No one's arguing any of those points. Especially with the recent stock market crash, everybody's even more nervous. It's not like things are getting better. They're getting a lot worse. Maybe they will get better in the future. As far as I'm concerned,
And
you can
80s,
correct
their
me if I'm
emphasis on
wrong.
structure and
Please let me
discipline
know.
helped shape the professional environment and laid the groundwork for the modern workforce today. However, their loyalty driven work culture frequently clashed with the ambitions of baby boomers, whose priorities reflected a very different set of
Mm,
societal and economic conditions.
mm.
Baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, grew up in vastly different circumstances compared to their parents. Early boomers, raised by the greatest generation, inherited values of sacrifice and hard work, but rejected the materialism and conformity of their upbringing. By the 1960s and 70s, they led a cultural shift challenging the organization man mindset that prioritized loyalty to employers over personal fulfillment, an attitude echoed by Gen Z today. Although later
Yeah.
boomers, influenced by their silent generation parents, lean more towards stability and working within the system, economic challenges in the 1980s, including high inflation, soaring interest rates, and stagnant wages, blurred these distinctions, resulting in boomers averaging 10 jobs by the age of 34,
hmm
practically switching jobs every
In jobs
year
at
from
34.
18 to 24,
Why
far
wouldn't you switch
surpassing
jobs every
millennials.
year if you knew that you wouldn't have any loyalty from your employer? You should definitely switch jobs every year. You should honestly leverage the amount that you got from your previous job in order to get to another job that's going to offer you more money, right? So if you are making $25 an hour, right? And then you go over to this new job and you say, "Hey, I'll leave this job if you need workers for 27, but you've only been at the old job for a year and then they offer you $27, why would you stay at the other one, right? Maybe you would, maybe you like your job, maybe the risk is too much, maybe whatever, you don't feel like training or whatever, you're happy where you're at, right? But then you can go leapfrog and make lateral changes for more money. So you can end up being in a position that does the same job without having to get a promotion to get more money while jumping up to $3. Eventually you get to the point where you're at like a lower level position and you're making as much as the manager above you is if you can negotiate things right. I've seen that happen a lot. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. So they won't have any loyalty. What if you get sick, man? What if you get sick and you have to go to the hospital and they replace you after you have to be in the hospital for a week? That's happened to people. I know people that's happened to. I mean, if it happened to you, I'm so sorry, but like that happens, dude.
and Gen Z.
Um, what camera do I use? I use a Canon R series with a 16 to 35 L glass lens. It's a 2.8.
At the same age.
Do you think YouTube is still a good platform to start on? I do believe it is a good platform. I think that you kind of have to. If you could be on TikTok Live to start, it'd probably be better because more people are doing that right now. YouTube's great too. Twitch is hard to get into.
Similarly, despite being framed as disloyal, 70% of Gen Z workers cite salary competitiveness as the driving force behind frequent job changes, reflecting a shared focus on financial security in a time of economic instability. And the shift towards short-term employment relationships weakened the emphasis on long-term career paths. Simultaneously, globalization and outsourcing emerged as a dominant cost-cutting strategy, further eroding traditional career ladders. Companies increasingly scaled back long-term training programs, prioritizing cost efficiency and flexibility over employee development, leaving Generation X to navigate an environment shaped by fragmentation, heightened competition, and the growing demand for adaptability. Generation X, born between 1965
How long's the longest you've ever stayed at a job? And like, and how old are you? So like, yeah. I just want to know that because I don't know very many people who've stayed at a job for multiple years, but I've worked some projects where somebody was there for like 25 years. And I think in most cases those are um like late boomers or whatever that have worked for the government for a really long time and they just like the benefits and they like their job and they're just the type of person to do that. I don't know very many people like that, right? I don't think that that kind of exists anymore where we are exposed to so much that it's hard for us to find our enough and to settle. So, yeah, let me know. Like, how old are you and how long have you been at your job? If it's been more than 5 years, then man, that's pushing it nowadays. So good on you if that's the case, right?
and 1980 grew up amid rising divorce rates and dual-income households, earning them the label latchkey kids. Societal shocks like the Challenger disaster, economic crisis, and political failures eroded their trust within institutions,
Yeah,
reinforcing their
they did.
focus on resilience and
Absolutely.
adaptability. While Gen Z is often criticized for seeking jobs that align with personal meaning, it was actually Gen X that first initiated this cultural shift.
Yeah.
According to developmental
Why work for
psychologist
yourself or
Jeffrey
why work
Jensen
for a company if you
Arnett,
can work for
Gen
yourself?
Xers began prioritizing identity-driven careers in the 90s.
Because you'll never get paid as much by another person as you're willing to pay yourself. So if you don't have to, then you should never work for somebody else. You should never work for another company unless you're a contractor and you can kind of set your terms and conditions because the freedom that comes with that is insane. You should always strive to do that. I don't know why anybody would want to work for a company unless they just really like the cause or they really liked what they were doing for the world because of it. How do you stay motivated to make content? You guys. You guys. That's the answer. I like doing it for you guys, and I like to hang out with y'all, and it's fun. It's a nice stress relief because other than this, I really don't have anything to vent about, so I'm here venting to y'all. So
1990s tech boom, favoring roles that aligned with their passions and values over financial stability. Their pivotal contributions to emerging industries like technology and e-commerce, including their roles in the personal computing revolution and the rise of Silicon Valley, reshaped the global
yeah,
economy
that's
and
how it
set the
was.
stage for today's purpose-driven
That's how it
labor
was.
market.
The
The shift
the
also
economy
led to a greater demand
and
for
the
flexibility,
internet boom, dude.
with
The
50% of
internet
Gen
came out, we
Xers
were like,
favoring remote
boom.
work,
It was so
surpassing
amazing.
both boomers
No life.
and Gen Z.
Don't touch grass at all.
However, their loyalty to employers was entirely conditional, based on if their personal and professional needs were met. setting the foundation for the
Exactly.
transactional nature of today's modern
You couldn't treat people like
workforce.
shit. They
And
would
by
they would
demanding
quit
both
and they'd go find
purpose
another
and
job because they had the
flexibility in
internet.
their
'Cause it was
careers,
easier to
Gen X
find.
reshaped workplace norms, paving the way for millennials to further amplify these trends. And before we break down the historical implications of the millennial generation, I am actively pushing and trying to get professors,
Yeah,
politicians,
for
economists,
sure.
journalists, and CEOs on the channel to help us break down some of these issues. If this video is providing any value to you
Well,
and you would like to
where are
support
they?
the
Why don't
channel,
they talk
I
about
would
it?
greatly appreciate it if you
I'll give
liked
you
the
a like and
video
follow,
and
dude.
subscribed if you haven't already done
Your favorite
so.
editing
It
trick to use in your
truly
vids?
does
I don't
help
really
when
do
reaching out
much.
to
I
these
actually use
guests.
AI to edit my videos because I'm a lazy piece of garbage. So I basically just upload them there. There's a couple different ones depending on what you do. But yeah, they make my clips and videos for me. Other than that, I just upload them directly to YouTube after I'm done with my streams.
Thank you all so much for your support. Millennials, born between 1981 and 1996, came of age during a period of rapid technological advancement and
Hmm.
economic instability,
That's
with the Great
me,
Recession profoundly shaping their entry into adulthood.
dude.
Raised by baby boomers,
I remember back in the day whenever I first got like my Windows 98 and like you had to like go to the bottom corner, I guess it'd be over here, and then you'd click the button, right, and then it would pop up a window, and then you'd have to go to the right thing, and then you have to find the next window so you could get over to play Hearts and Solitaire. And I just felt so cool because nobody knew where it was hidden in all those menu drop down things, and I could find them. So I literally have like my mom or one of my mom's friends be all like, "Hey, can you get to the games?" And I just felt like a tech nerd. I was like 6 years old or something like that at the time. I'm like 30 something now, early 30s right now. But thanks for the follow, man. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the movement. We are going to change the world one day, but until then, we're just going to watch YouTube. So here we go.
boomer and Gen X parents who emphasize structured parenting and achievement, millennials experienced highly organized childhoods filled with extracurricular activities
Look at
and
all
positive
those
reinforcement.
nostalgia. Wonder Ball, Rugrats, which is I did not like that show at all, but Diablo, the original one. You remember having the Game Boys and you had the little light attachment, and you could actually like when you're playing Pokemon, you could plug it into the back of the Game Boy and then have another Game Boy plugged in, and you could battle each other and trade Pokemon, and that was like the only way you could get certain Pokemon from yellow to red into like gold to silver and all that stuff. What else you got here? Power Rangers. Oh my goodness. Like that's still popular today. I heard He-Man. One of my neighbors mentioned He-Man, like her son is into He-Man, and I'm all like, that's like pre my time, dude. He's like 6 years old. How does he know about He-Man? Like real throwbacks. Man, this is awesome. What a nostalgia thing. Kind of makes me
By
sad.
2008, they were the most educated generation in history, with 70%
Who else remembers
pursuing
that?
higher education by the age of 25. Yet many graduated into a devastated job market,
Mm-hmm.
burdened with record student debt and underemployment. Nearly half accepted jobs
Yeah.
unrelated to their degrees, delaying wealth accumulation and home ownership, resulting in millennials to reshape their approach to work, rejecting rigid hierarchies and their traditional pay your dues
I'm the same
mindset.
way. I'm
They
basically unemployable
prioritized
now.
flexibility, collaboration, and roles that aligned with personal values. Their team-orientated outlook, shaped by early exposure
That
to
dude
social media
playing in a
and their
golf
structured
thing?
childhoods, fostered innovation, but often clashed with the hierarchical
Why? So you could live
preferences
at the office. Now it's like a cool thing to do is to be like an urban traveler and urban camping and stuff, and be like this tech guy because it costs $100,000 just to live in tech heavy industries. Starting to get that to my city. I live in Dallas,
of older
Texas.
generations, leading to
This is live, man. Would you ever do commentary live instead of recorded? You're in live recording right now, bud. So
perceptions of
welcome.
entitlement until none other than
Getting
Gen
yourself-
Z emerged into the workforce. Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012, entered adulthood
Okay.
in a labor market
That's Z,
fundamentally
right?
transformed by systemic change and economic upheaval. Growing up immersed in social media, Gen Z
Uh-huh.
has been exposed to curated success stories that amplify expectations for achievement while fueling anxiety about failure. Unlike previous
Yeah, that's
generations,
me right now.
much
That's
of their
me,
understanding
actually.
of workplace norms comes from fragmented online narratives
100K
rather
per
than
day.
direct
Jesus
mentorship,
Christ.
leading to aspirations that often clash with labor market realities.
Crazy YouTubers.
Entry-level positions, once a stepping stone into professional life, now frequently require
How many of you guys think that we're totally screwed, absolutely screwed, because we are getting rid of all these people who are working in these industries that make us our food, that do all of our cleaning, that do all of our road work and construction and agriculture? Like, do you really think that we're going to be super impacted, or do you think like our unemployment rate's going to drop because there's more positions available and people are actually going to fill them that aren't working already. 'Cause I feel like a lot of people don't work and are on unemployment because they just don't want to work and they can survive on unemployment. Like, wouldn't you do that if you didn't have to work at all and you were cool with just being like poverty level for the rest of your life? I mean, why would you work? Why not? Why not have the free time?
Require 3 to 5 years of experience, with 38.4% of these roles including such demands. Rising higher education costs and diminished vocational training have further narrowed pathways, leaving many Gen Z candidates burdened with debt and
Hmm.
unprepared for the skills employers
Yeah.
require. Federal investment in workplace development has also plummeted, falling from $69 billion when adjusted for inflation under the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act in 1979 to just $20 billion today, resulting in the societal expectation that Gen Z will just have the necessary skill sets when emerging into the workforce, when in all reality,
Mm.
all of the traditional avenues in obtaining those
That
is
student debt
practically
didn't
impossible
help.
to come by. And unfortunately, the
They're
2020
just saying,
global crisis exacerbated these challenges. Remote education and work environments
yeah, that
deprive
was
Gen Z of
stupid.
opportunities to develop essential soft skills such as
Yeah, I noticed that like babies, because I do some photography for my life, and I noticed that like the small babies that then grew up in isolation away from other people and children, like they had a lot more closed off personalities, and they were a lot less they're a lot more scared emotionally, just in general. That kind of scary, man. Like those kids might be messed up for the rest of their lives because they're very formative. Have I ever gotten a copyright strike? No, I don't really post too many copyrighted videos, and then, if I am using a video that is on YouTube already, they'll let me know if I'm screwing up, and I just won't post it, but it hasn't happened yet, so that's good.
communication, collaboration, and conflict resolution. Relying heavily on digital communication, many now struggle with the nuanced interpersonal dynamics required in professional settings. Hiring managers have criticized their perceived inability to adapt to workplace expectations or engage in meaningful collaboration, where intergenerational mentorship has also declined, with 1 in 5 Gen Z workers reporting no conversations with colleagues over the age of 50 in the last year alone. And these factors have left Gen Z, frankly, ill equipped to meet the
Yeah.
growing
That checks
demands
out, though.
of a
I
labor
mean,
market that offers fewer pathways for
the
growth.
older you
And
are, the harder it
ironically,
is to be in the workforce because of technology, and if you're not well adapted to it and you didn't grow up with it and you weren't really into it whenever it did come out as an older person, you're gonna be lost, dude. You're definitely not going for, like, the big jobs where it takes a lot of efficiency. You're not. You just can't fit in that role, and if you feel, that that's incorrect, like, let me know, but right? If you're not in it and you're not entertained by it and you're not interested in it, you're not gonna learn it, right? And if you don't learn it, you're not gonna keep up. And if you're not gonna keep up, then you're not gonna get hired. So, it really does suck that there's some not ageism, but it's just, like, you remove yourself from the pool because you don't wanna you're not interested in it, and I totally understand that.
for those that do have the ability to communicate, dress professionally, show up on time, all the things that employers actually are wanting, well, that frankly no longer has any importance on a
Mhm.
resume. It isn't the
Doesn't.
keywords that'll get you promoted on the LinkedIn platform, and likely isn't even
Yeah.
something that a
Welcome
third
to the
party
YouTube Live, man.
recruiter
It's my
or
first live.
interviewer
Thanks for
will
joining.
even ask for. And with the hiring process increasingly being outsourced to third party recruiters and automated systems,
And
only
contracted work is huge,
39% of hiring
and it's
teams
cheaper for
have
companies.
actually received formal interview training. And this reliance on automated systems further just exacerbates the issue, as 75% of applications are excluded before ever being reviewed by a human, with
Yeah, AI,
78% of
baby. What did you
hiring
think it was gonna
managers
do,
just
right?
predicting that AI will replace entry level jobs
Mhm.
altogether.
That's
Now,
kind of the
unlike
whole point
hiring
behind AI,
managers,
wasn't it?
employers, and recruiters that have
Like, guys, if I'm an employer and I am trying to save money on labor, which is about one third of all of your expenses, it's usually one third product and inventory to sell or whatever that product is. It's one third labor and one third overhead. So you might get 10%. Good companies probably make about 20% total. So if I'm trying to minimize that labor cost and minimize the cost of a lot of other things using AI, like absolutely I will. Because if I can go from 10 to 15%, 20 to 25%, I have a viable business for the rest of my life. and it's consistent, man. It's consistent. So if you're not using AI and you can be using AI, you should. Like I use AI in order to clip all my videos to post them. Maybe I should, but I'm lazy, and it's just way quicker, and I just don't have that much time in the day. So like if you disagree, let me know. But right? I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you use it?
Have just done everything in their power to give Gen Z the ability to thrive in the workforce and are unfortunately just having to resort to not
Yeah, I
hiring
don't care, man.
any recent
I don't
grads
care.
for 2025 because Gen Z in the entirety is just the worst generation
Hmm.
to work with. Well, we now have the ability to
If y'all have
understand
worked with
the
Gen Zers,
cultural,
like, let me know what
societal,
your
and
experience is like.
historical implications that have led us to this point. What I really wanted to get to the point of here is I wanted to show that all throughout history, patterns continuously repeat themselves. We point fingers at every emerging generation because, frankly, it is the easiest thing to do. To hear them talk about the work environment is not
Yeah,
fair,
it's pretty
that
bad.
wages need to be better, that this and this and this and this, well, one, that makes you feel like, well, I mean, why didn't I talk about it? Yeah, it does kind of suck, but I've been dealing with it, so you should too. But it also makes you think, these silly people,
Like,
they
my
don't
life
even
sucks,
know
my
how
job
hard it
sucks,
used
so
to
yours
be.
should too. That makes
Well,
sense, right?
in reality, yeah, that's kind of the point of society. That's why you have kids. That's why you work, is to make it get a little bit easier, to
Mm,
have technological advancements, make things a
I think
little
so.
bit more convenient. But the reality is there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things that people are going through, and their perspective on that is
Yeah.
going to seem severe to them. So you have to come at them with compassion.
Of course, it's severe to them. Everyone is concerned about their own thing. Everyone thinks that their thing is the main thing. The world revolves around them. It doesn't revolve around everybody else, does it? Like that's what makes sense. What's your setup look like? Show us. I'm not really gonna show you guys, but I'd tell you. In my Twitch bio, about I have the specs set up there, and the only difference is like I don't have my camera on there. And it's an R5 with the 16 to 35 millimeter lens on it, and I don't know what this mic is, an AKG. I know it was just recommended to me by a streamer buddy because I didn't want to spend. I think it's good quality. What do you think, guys?
But as a society, we don't have any idea
Nah,
on how
dude, you
to do that.
disagree?
So again, it's
I'm
easier to
sorry.
place blame. So
You can disagree.
why do employers dislike Gen Z? It's easy. Now, if you want to get to some of the actual critiques, yeah, Gen Z don't have the ability to effectively communicate in the workforce. Okay, so what do we do about it? Yeah, let's just not hire any recent grads. What does that do?
Mm.
Does that help anybody? Will they now be able to have the communication skills needed in 2026?
I don't think that it's their responsibility to hire people who are coming out of colleges with these degrees and these super kind of like left leaning mindsets that aren't really beneficial to the workplace, right? When you can be hiring somebody who spent the last 4 years in the industry and has experience, right? So which one's the best one for your business? Which one are you going to choose? Someone who's been very indoctrinated into a more liberal side of the world, or is it going to be the person who has a lot of experiences, who's been grinding for the last 4 years, same age, maybe different mentality, has a little bit more real world experience? I always have a hard time saying that. And so, yeah, which one would you choose for your business? Let me know down in the comments, please.
No. It makes absolutely no sense to me. What you do is you create an environment with respect on both sides and start doing some training, doing some managing, doing some mentorship to instruct, hey, this is how you communicate. Yeah, I know that you like to do this, but this
Mm.
is how we're going to do it. Find a middle ground.
I don't think it's their
Listen to what it is that
responsibility.
they're
Just
actually
hire the
trying
person
to
that you
say.
want.
And I am not just trying to say Gen
You
Z
don't
are
agree with
victims
me?
or anything like that.
What
I'm
don't you
trying
agree
to
with?
do a fair approach to say that what is happening is absolutely just ludicrous. The fact
Yeah.
that for the
Okay.
past century, each generation is just doing this, saying, hey, maybe we should have better wages, a better work environment, a blah, 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 blah. And then the generation is, you're lazy, you're entitled, you're not loyal,
Yeah, but the problem that actually the solution is to be not retained by a company, because if a company knows that you can go get a better job, they're incentivized to keep you there if they want you there. And what happens is that either they have to pay you a lot more and give you good benefits. So if another offer comes, it's not tempting, and they're not probably not gonna be able to offer as much, right? Or the other side of it is that you pay a lot less, and then people do end up leaving, but you have a really high turnover rate. So retention over turnover, there's two different strategies for a business, right? Which one would you choose? I don't know. Depends on the business, right? If you're Taco Bell and it's really kind of cheap and easy to hire somebody to do the job because it's not super complicated and they don't need a lot of experience, then good, right? Set. But if you're a contracting company that has to contract out people who work on web design or construction, then yeah, obviously that's going to be a more retention. You're going to want to give them better benefits. You're going to want to pay them more so they'll stay on the projects with you, or so the contractor won't move to a different recruiter. And if people are hopping between jobs very frequently, you just have to up the benefits of staying. So give them more money, treat them better, give them more opportunities, make sure that their job is in alignment with their lifestyle so they have everything they need. That's an L take, or like, what's L about the take? Like, it's so funny that people come in here and they tell me that I have a dumb take, but they'll never explain like their side of the story or why they think it's that way.
If back in my
But I
day,
love the hate.
so this just continuously happens for all eternity. Now, what is happening over here? Well, it's the very thing that you're arguing about. It's wages, it's fulfillment in the work environment, it's collaboration, it's you name it.
Hmm.
So, what is happening? Has wages gotten better? Anything
Have I ever covered something and later realized you were wrong? Yeah, that's never happened because I'm so smart and brilliant and I never am wrong. No, definitely. I sometimes I mishear thing or I misinterpret something in a video, and then I'll say something that's like completely kind of an a-hole thing to say, and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I misheard that." So I'm the idiot. But that's fine. I knew I was an idiot when I started. So,
in the
no
work
change.
culture gotten better in the last century?
Exactly. Yeah. And it hasn't. It
Well,
has gotten
there's
better.
definitely,
It
if you
has.
really nitpick, you're going to find something. But
Okay.
the
Yeah.
reality is that what if
Getting nitpicky,
instead of us
guys.
arguing, we focused on the issue?
Pay people more to keep them at their job?
But
Yeah.
nope, them dang Gen
Duh.
Zers. Now, I will say, I just turned 25, so I am a Gen Zer. Impossible for me not to have some
Bias?
bias, but
Anybody
I will
see any
say
bias?
some of the
Lots of bias?
worst people I have worked with
Mm.
were Gen Z. Now, was that because they were Gen Z? Or was that because they just didn't
What
fit in the
industry?
culture that we had? Was that just because I didn't have the patience to actually listen to what they were saying? There's so many other components. I will also say some of the most frustrating people that I've ever worked with were Gen Xers, were millennials that just I couldn't understand. So
Because they
what
have a
is the
way. They're set in
common
their way,
similarity
Like,
among
why
these?
change if
It's
it's been
me.
working for years?
I am the one that needs to be making the
Y'all
decisions
always
on
ganging
how
up
I
on me
handle
in
these
chat. I love it.
interactions.
Why are y'all so
If you are
mean?
a hiring manager, an employer, a recruiter, your responsibility is to find the best candidate. So if
Mm-hmm.
people are coming in that are not effective, it's your fault. It's not the generation's fault. Again, placing blame. It doesn't do anything effective. What I want to just
What do you guys think about that? I think that's kind of not a good take because, I mean, if you have a less pool of good people because they're uneducated or inexperienced on average across the entire board of their generation, or they're just unsocialized or they've been distracted in their life because of social media or whatever it is, they have different alignments and goals. So, like, obviously, if they have less good people in the pool, they're going to have to fill these roles somehow, and they're going to panic and let anybody do it. Anybody who might be moderately qualified or trainable. Just the way
also
it works.
highlight, because I think it's interesting, is when you look at boomers, we think of boomers. In reality, there was multiple different types of boomers based on their parents, which then slowly trickled down to other components. Now, I just turned 25. My parents are the oldest Gen X, the youngest boomers, and their parents were the silent generation. When I look at myself, this analysis gave me so much clarification because the way that I was raised and the way that I hold myself in the workforce is of efficiency, is of discipline, of hard work, of
Mm-hmm.
impacting the providing value to my surroundings. That is all it is that I want to do. That is the same across the board with my closest friends. Now, when I look at some of those outside friends, some acquaintances that are a little bit younger, the Gen X parents, they very much prioritize work-life balance. No big deal, that's totally fine, just different than the way that I operate my life. Then when I look at the younger Gen Z, raised by millennials, they are very much prioritizing emotional well-being and all these other components. Again, not saying anything different, but when we paint each generation as
I mean, you're
Gen
working.
Z,
Why
Gen
does it gotta be
X,
emotional
millennials, blah,
connections
blah,
and
blah, you're missing so many components rich with other information.
hey, thanks for the follow, bud.
We are living in a society that is being plagued by convenience and the inability as a society to have any discussion. We want to
Whoops.
blame Gen Zs for the inability to be able to communicate in the workforce. Hey, as a society, we have no ability to communicate. That's just facts. You will see that even after this video, in the comment section below will be, yeah, Gen Zs are still lazy. I guarantee
I think
you're
everybody's
gonna see
getting
one of
lazier, to be
those.
honest.
Or,
I don't
yeah,
think it matters the
boomers still
generation at all.
suck. It's gonna happen. Nothing we're gonna do about it.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can focus on ourselves and how we're going to handle each situation. And I do apologize that this stigma also happens to the boomers and the Gen X's that are getting fired and no longer able to get hired by somebody else because the recruiters, the employers, the hiring managers get to dictate whatever it is that they want to do. And all we do is we focus on this. Imagine if we focused on the issue. Anywho, I hope this video was able to provide some value. I thought that this is the path we needed to pursue this conversation.
I guess.
I think it's really interesting that we don't talk about the interconnected dynamics of generations more. And yeah, the audacity for me to say what life was like for boomers and for Gen X. If I got some of it wrong, I'm definitely sorry. Please let me know in the comment section below.
I quit assuming things that
The
you don't know about.
reality, I'm just having to read through so many different articles, so many different newspapers, magazines, just spending so much time studying because, well, frankly, it's hard to communicate with other generations. But I hope that I was able to provide some value. Thank you
you
all
for the
so much for
value,
your
bud.
time. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's keep doing the best that we can. Until
Doing
next
the best that
time.
we can,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Boy, it was sure nice of Mr. Krabs to give me a job.
Yeah, that was an okay video. I appreciate what this guy went through. I think he was pretty biased though. And I think that a lot of the stuff was pretty much like, okay, why is it the employer's responsibility to do anything? Why is it the employee? It should be the employees that's trying to make like themselves look the best. But you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're in the older generation, you're not qualified, or you're getting left behind. If you're in the newer generation, you're not qualified and you're not capable of keeping up. So it's like it's hard to keep up in this modern workplace. That's kind of why AI is required now. That's kind of why we need the AI, isn't it? Right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Why does YouTube keep pushing drama vids? I mean, because I guess that's what people like. I'm not sure. Do you think YouTube Shorts are worth it? I mean, if you're trying to get like partner or you're trying to get something like that, you need the watch time. And it does kind of, if you're willing to take the time to do it, it kind of pushes the algorithm in your favor. Reposting like once or twice a day, and it's getting easier and easier with AI now to create videos. So I would say you should go ahead and do it. What's wrong with your hairline? It's looking a little round, huh? It's looking a little pushed back. No, I know. I'm working on it. I take these like finasteride pills or whatever, trying to fix that. So you're funny. I like it. I like that. That's hilarious. It was good though. It's a good video. How you guys doing today? Yeah. See, how's the YouTube going? First time YouTube living, and I think I got like a couple people viewing me, but I guess I got bored and left because they can't see the chat. I should probably put the chat in here. I'll work on that and make it better for next time though. So until then, we're just gonna keep on rocking and a rolling. Let's see. We're gonna do another gaming one because I missed out on the first one with the recording, and I want to kind of keep that up. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. 10 brand new games we are actually hyped about. I guess we'll see if we're actually hyped about them or not, and if they're any originals or if they're just remakes of old games. You know, it's gonna be
It might
great.
seem that all that ever gets announced anymore are remakes and sequels.
Exactly.
Original games
Yep,
aren't
yep.
dead in the video game world. You just have to
Games
know
getting
where
so
to
pretty.
look for them. And that's where
Yeah.
we come in. There's actually recently been a lot of exciting announcements from new and upcoming studios with games that
That's a good
aren't
game.
remakes, aren't adaptations of something else, or
Yeah.
a remake, or based on a comic book or nostalgia reboot or anything.
Ugh.
They're just new games.
I'll play
And,
some
there are a
Capcom
lot of
games.
them that we're very hyped
Marvel
about. And it's
games.
not just because they're new. These are legitimately interesting and exciting looking games. Keep in mind, as a disclaimer, these aren't
hard to break the
wholesale
mold
endorsements
nowadays,
yet.
you know?
We're just going on pre-announcement stuff. We're not sponsored by any of these games or anything like that. We're not
That's
reviewing
good.
them, but just
We don't want
games
you
we're
to be.
keeping an eye on that look cool. Because contrary to what the internet might sometimes lead you to believe, it's okay to be excited about video games, man. So you get the
Mm-hmm.
idea? We're talking about upcoming games here, but the rule when we made this list was no remakes or sequels, just new IPs or intellectual properties. So
The
don't get
jams
mad
and
at us for leaving out Grand Theft Auto 6 or anything. We're excited about that too, but today it's all about new stuff. Anyway, that was a long-winded thing. Let's just get started with number
Whatever
10.
happened to that prototype
Phantom
game? You
Blade
remember that?
Zero.
That was such a good
This
one. Phantom
upcoming
Blade Zero.
martial arts-inspired action game is looking real sharp if the trailers are anything to go by. The emphasis here is on fast, brutal action, and it looks really spectacular in
It looks
motion.
like I just get my butt kicked that entire game. It's giving me Dante's Inferno vibes.
It's good to see that the fast-paced action games are finally
Synchronized
seeing a
death
revival
right
between
there.
games like this and honestly a bunch of other stuff on this list.
Oh,
Now
it's a
is a
boss
good time
battle.
to just be a crazy
like, most
all-out
of them would be
action
coordinated
game
like that.
fan. There's not a whole lot we actually know about this game, other than that it's a Wuxia-inspired setting and intense-looking combat, and even the developers are mostly unknown, having made a few smaller indie games before this one. But with Sony supporting the studio,
Upgraded into
we're
the
hoping that
AAA
things are going to
title
work out
category.
well. You can tell they're pretty
It's awesome.
confident about it with the most recent gameplay trailer that just runs for 6 minutes straight and doesn't try to hide anything about the game. It's just pure gameplay and some boss battles, and it all looks very slick.
That looks so cool. It's definitely Dante's Inferno meets Elden Ring. I think
And
everybody's kind of getting on the
thankfully,
Elden Ring
I have gotten
bandwagon
my
right now.
hands on an early preview version of the game last year at Summer Game Fest, and I can confirm it's a lot of fun to play. It's pretty over the top. It can be challenging, but you as the player have a
guys.
lot of options.
Before we go on from this, I mean, I know this game's good and we're gonna keep on going. I don't want to spoil it, but like if you have any games that you're like really looking forward to in the future, just drop them into the comments here so I can hear about them. I think that's gonna be really awesome because I'm always looking for good games and I'm kind of picky. So if you could recommend some to me, I would love that. Comments or chat, you know, whichever one if you're watching it after the live, go ahead and put it in the comment because I want to know. I really do.
Options, a lot of power at your fingertips. There's a pretty big variety of different weapons to use, ranged attacks, and also these really over-the-top, sometimes
These bosses are so
screen-filling
weird.
special attacks. Oh, and one interesting tidbit of info we found online is that the game is set in a large interconnected world. It's not going to be an open world, but each
Tentacle
area
vibes.
will be connected. And as you advance through the story, apparently additional paths open up for exploration, which
I love
sounds like
that.
the ideal setup for a game like this. You get some exploration, but it doesn't
some
bog the game
expansion.
down, or
Yeah.
at least in theory. Honestly, everything we've seen about this game so
Be like
far
World
just
of Warcraft. Whenever you get in there, and it has like this massive world, and I got Explorer before they kept on with the expansions back in like Burning Crusade. I got the Explorer thing because there wasn't that much to go around, but you just have to like fly in a grid pattern to get all these discovered lands, and it was a lot of work. Now it's even harder. So like whenever you drop a character into a world where you can go anywhere and everywhere, it kind of can be overwhelming. So I'm glad that they kind of like pace it out for you, right?
seems pretty damn exciting. Like we said, some of those trailers, the boss fights, that puppet boss in the trailer looks absolutely nuts. The way the music cues change,
look
and,
kinda cool,
like
but
different
weird.
music kicks in. It just seems like a cool thing that we're going to be playing hopefully sometime in 2025.
like
Next over at number
Puppet-
9, Steel
Boss.
Hunters. Mech games are back, and it feels real
Oh,
good. The Humble
yeah,
Mech
like
has
Mech
been
Assault was fun.
woefully underrepresented in recent video game years, but with the success of games like Armored Core, the industry seems to have finally
Core.
recognized something that
I downloaded that
everyone
game, never
who
played
plays
it.
these games already knows, man. Mechs are cool. Now, the ones in Steel Hunters look particularly badass here, like a cross
really
between
do.
a Gundam and a Titanfall mech, but what really matters is that the game just looks fun to play.
I would just love to be. Well, it's basically like what? It's like a cool first-person shooter. Like instead of having jetpacks on normal humans, like in Halo Reach and stuff, which ruined the competitiveness of the game because it created too much variability. In my opinion, for MLG, it should have been like mechs. If you want to play a game like that with jetpacks and flying, and if you want it to be first-person shooter style with all these power-ups and abilities, like this is what we want to see. This is what we want to play. We need a mech game for that. Don't ruin my Halo game that used to be more competitive and more even keel. Now it's unbalanced. When you unbalance a game, you remove that kind of competitive edge. I want to focus on tactics and also shooting, with maybe third being movement, because I don't think all these games are so levered on movement now. It's almost annoying. It's like, bro, can you even shoot, or are you just gonna, like, give me some accuracy. Like, make it to where like you have to be a better shot. Make it to where you have to be better at tactics. And that's what I think Rainbow Six Siege got good at. But then again, it's like almost too heavy on the tactics. So like, let me know if that's a bad take or whatever. I don't know how that goes. What's the weirdest comment you've ever gotten? You guys are all freaks. So yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of weird comments from you guys. Do you think people take internet drama too seriously? I mean, I think even talking about it's taking it too seriously. So yeah, I would say internet drama is pretty. I mean, anybody says anything behind a keyboard, if that hurts your feelings, they won't say it to your face, So like, don't take it too personal. You don't have to get upset about it. Matter of fact, if you do get upset about it, you should just get off the internet, because somebody's always going to have a negative opinion about something at some point in time. And I'm one of those people, so I know that to be true. What's your research process like? Man, honestly, I just hop in here and just have a good time with you guys and watch videos. That's what I like about it. I think that's the best part about it. You think the algorithm is rigged? I think it's rigged. Yeah, I think that there's a reason behind the madness, and I think that it's just hard to get out of that like bottom, like the cream of the crop has to rise above the noise in the bottom. There's so much noise down there. Yeah, exactly.
Now,
So cool.
Steel Hunters is an upcoming free-to-play extraction shooter where you play in teams of 2. You enter this big, gigantic map. You search for resources,
It's multi-team.
fight NPC
That's
enemies
cool.
who are around in the map, and
Ooh, there's
compete with
NPCs
5
too.
other teams who are trying to do the same thing. Look,
So
free-to-play and
score-based,
even
huh?
sometimes extraction shooter doesn't always work with us. Like, sometimes we hear that when we go, oh boy, another one of these. But just
Not so
looking at this
bad.
trailer, it looks cool. It's the mechs.
It's cool.
The map design looks really interesting.
it
The
out. Why not?
combat looks pretty powerful, and like we said, it just looks like it's a ton of fun. It's a really exciting idea,
Closed
like a
beta.
cross between Tarkov and Titanfall. That looks like it's just going to be a blast. There's even a
Tarkov.
PvE mode apparently for folks who are out there that just want to stomp around these
it's
awesome
more
looking
like
maps
me.
as a mech. As of right now, we know the game is currently in alpha, and there's no hard release date given, just a blanket coming soon. But with the developers
pretty
of this
polished
being
for
the guys
alpha.
behind all the
Or
World
closed
of
beta
games,
testing,
like World
right?
of Tanks, World of
Says it in the
Warships, stuff
corner.
like that, we expect this one to come out and probably do pretty well,
Pretty
but
big.
just watch out for
Yeah,
the
I'd be down.
monetization. If their previous games are anything to go by, then Steel Hunters will be monetized up the ass to hell and back. Look, we can overlook some of that stuff. We're just gonna have to wait and see when it releases. But again, the idea
fun, dude.
is awesome here. Next over at number 8 is Hell Is Us. You got our attention here because Souls-likes so
Another
rarely try to color
mech
outside
game
that
or-
established dark fantasy setting. I mean, what was the last one we had? Like The Surge? So anytime anything comes along that looks like it's actually different, then we sit up and take
FromSoft?
notice.
That
And we're
looks
not
cool.
entirely even sure this is technically a Souls-like, but whatever it is, it does look really interesting. It appears modern,
It gave
but
me a little
with
bit of,
supernatural,
Division
almost kind of
vibes.
Death Stranding-like elements and sci-fi elements. There's a semi-open world to explore that is giving us
Semi-open?
also some Control vibes in some of it, like
does that mean?
the mix of the alien and then like the normal stuff.
Hey, who are you?
I'm Rebecca. I've been hiding here since
Oh.
the attack on Jova.
Kids in
The bombs
games.
fell from the sky.
They haven't shown too much combat. There is a gameplay video out there, and from what we've seen, it looks like it fits into a Souls-style mold with your guy wielding swords and spears and axes against these supernatural
weird.
foes. The trailer was intriguing enough, but the
square
way the developers emphasize
pegging
the
around
exploration
holes,
aspect
and it doesn't fit
actually
together.
has us really interested. It's not usually something that gets brought up first, but the thing that separates a good technical Souls-like and an excellent one is often the world design. Exploration is a key
Yeah, it
component
is.
of those games, and some of the
I
most
like the
memorable moments in
visuals.
these kind
I
of
like
games
cool
is
things to
when you just
see
wander
while
into
I'm
some place where it
wandering.
feels like you really shouldn't be there, or you discover something cool. You know, that feeling where you go into an area and stop and reconsider, maybe I should go back here later, or if I push a little further, I might find something cool. I hope this
True.
game is able to give us those feelings, because looking at the world
Kind of
design
like a
and the
loot
trailers
style
and the
game.
gameplay trailers and stuff like that, it looks like it might. Now, as of right now, this is coming out September 4th, 2025, and it's coming from developer Rogue Factor. Look, like any game on this list, it could release and crash and burn, but the pre-release information we're looking at here makes us pretty optimistic.
I'm only permitted to play Sabinian classics, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, I only happen to know one of their dreadful compositions.
Next, over at number 7, Tides of Annihilation. This extremely
seems like a fun
ambitious
game,
looking
guys.
action game kind of reminds us of a cross between Nier Automata and, bizarrely enough, Shadow of the Colossus. It's an action game set in this destroyed London that looks to mix cinematic action and semi-open world elements, but then there are also these gigantic knights roaming the city that you have to climb up and systematically dismantle in what looks to be like big epic set piece battles. So we see some RPG elements, platforming
really
that wouldn't look out of
cool.
place in kind of an Uncharted
I
game.
love that.
and
It's
A really
awesome.
interesting combat system where you actually command 10 different knights in order to fight enemies. Does anybody remember Folklore for PS3? Anyone? It kind of reminds me of that. Now, from the reveal, this game appears to be highly polished and very cool looking. This whole Arthurian legends, but in modern day visual style.
I'm not
gives
really
this
into
game
these
some
kinds of
unique
games, but
identity.
it does look
But the
fun.
gameplay is what
Gives me
really has
some,
our attention. Right off the bat, they're claiming there's going to be 30 boss
Those
fights, and from
visuals.
what we've seen from the trailers,
30?
they do look like they're going to be pretty cool. This one got revealed at a PlayStation event, but it's actually coming out for everything. And
Good.
while this is coming from yet another
They don't have a
mostly
PlayStation.
untested studio who have done a lot of support work in the past, this game looks like it's going to be really impressive when it comes out. Whenever it comes out, just because there's no release date yet.
What's
Next
with the
up at
no
number
release
6,
date?
Storer Parkour Pro. This
So you're gonna be running around the whole time?
Q1 2025 indie
Prototype,
looks
basically?
really intriguing. Just don't go into it expecting a horror game. That's just the name. What's
You, like, fall
actually
and die?
interesting about this is the parkour, which does look really, really nice. It's set in this open world London with a
Wasted.
story mode as well as multiplayer
Oh my
components.
God.
But this game looks like it's about one
What was
thing
that?
and one thing.
What was that freestyle inline game that was like anime back in the day? That's kind of like how it worked. You like the new hair? Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I got rid of that like pompadour thing, and I'm going slick back for a little while. We'll see it. Pairing it with the mustache, it's barely growing, and I kind of look like a clown. But do you remember the inline skating game that was like? And then you had like missions that you had to go through. It was like anime based, and that game was really fun. And this kind of parkour thing gives me that vibe, and I'd be down. So, have y'all seen that Tony Hawk's remastered games coming out soon? Are y'all gonna play that? I think I am. I'm probably gonna play that, dude. I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be real
really
good.
only, and that's
down.
satisfying parkour gameplay.
Yeah.
Apparently uses its own animation system that combines motion capture with physics-based movement, and it does look really awesome. It's kind of like if Mirror's Edge had a love child with Human
Mirror's
Fall Flat,
Edge.
which is just a really good idea. You get precision
I would
platforming,
jump
and then
off of
also
things so
noodle
much.
people ragdolling and flopping around.
What's the point?
Everybody loves a good ragdoll, and from the trailers, this game definitely has it. There's a lot
you
of
gonna
scrappy indie energy to this one. It's a very ambitious project, but the trailers don't exactly have that AAA polish, but who cares, as long as it's fun. There's a lot of interesting ideas in this one. I like how it seems to be both more sport-oriented with more complex movement that you usually get in these kind of games.
Did you just say, is the mic made out of soap because he's dropping it every time? What is going on in my chat right now? What's your favorite thing about being a YouTuber? You guys saying the most ridiculous thing in my chat while I'm watching YouTube. That's what my favorite part is, really. I mean, And y'all are so hot and cold, so like y'all tell me something that's just totally off the wall, rude, mean, and I love that. But then y'all be like really nice to me like 5 minutes later, and so like it's just emotional situation all the time. You guys are always the funnest part about this, right? Because otherwise, I don't mind sitting here talking to myself, but like when I get to talk to y'all, that's fun.
While also kind of being arcadey and fun. This game doesn't have like
Also
the most
follow and
realistic
like if you,
parkour.
if
From
you haven't
everything we've
already.
seen, it's more about just being fun than strictly completely accurate like a parkour simulator. Still, I think the jury's out on how this actually plays. It looks very cool. Those animations are gorgeous, but how does it actually feel when you have a controller
What
in
did it
your hand?
say?
We're just gonna have to wait
Who's
and find
following
out.
me?
Next over
Who
at
sent
number
me the
5,
follow?
Chronos,
Thanks,
the New
man. I
Dawn.
appreciate
Now,
it.
there's been a lot
You're
of
awesome.
solid survival
Thank
horror
you.
games recently, but what we usually get are either games in long-running franchises like, you know, Resident Evil or Silent Hill, or
Chronos.
low-budget indie games that can be very good, but I think what a lot of us do want is a high-fidelity horror game that actually does something kind of new. From what we've seen of Chronos, this new game from Bloober Team, this is the horror game we've been kind of waiting for. It's got a bizarre time-bending premise where you play as a freaky bobblehead roaming the nightmare future in order to find time portals that'll allow you to retrieve people from the past and then bring them into the future
What?
for some reason.
Yeah, what's the point? Oh my god, that looks horrifying. I love that. You guys. Oh,
It's a
look at
weird
that
looking game
creepy
with weird
thing.
concepts that seems
Oh.
to combine alien abstraction with Eastern Bloc brutalism
Ugh.
in a way that just feels really unique. Even while the actual gameplay looks pretty recognizable, but in a good way. It's not a tedious
Yeah.
walking simulator
shooting
or
like
a
a
horror
undead
game
baby?
with not a lot of real gameplay.
What?
This looks like it's like a
That is
full-on Resident
wrong?
Evil 4
You can
Dead
put that in
Space
games?
style third-person shooter where you're kind of slowly clunking around in your suit, shooting at all these weird
I'm so here for
malformed
all of
alien
these,
freaks
man.
and
That's so
managing
cool.
resources. It's a survival horror game technically, and it embraces that, and we're excited to see how it'll actually feel, how it actually will play when it comes out sometime in 2025. Look, you can go back a year or so, and a lot of people would care a little less about seeing a new Bloober Team game, but after the
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 remake they did, we're hoping for the best with this one. Next over at number 4,
I'm hopeful.
Lock-
You said solid. You said when am I dropping merch? Actually, I have a couple of merch items already. I have a shirt, a hoodie, and a coffee mug. But just I would caution you to purchase them. I'm waiting for my first sample, so I don't know if they're going to be good quality yet. So just give it a little bit. If you want to donate to the stream, you can do that through tips and stuff like that on my pages and whatnot. Not required. Always appreciated, because you know I didn't deserve it. But yeah, I would just wait on the merch. I want to make sure the quality's good before you guys start buying it. So just give me a couple more days on that. I'll let you know, man.
Chimera. Now, it's pretty rare to see an old-fashioned, story-driven, first-person shooter game these days, but that's exactly what we're looking at here, and that alone is enough to get us excited. But there's
I'm kind
actually
of
a
excited
lot
about
about this
that game.
game.
I
that
like
looks really
first-person
promising.
shooters.
The shooting, for one thing, looks pretty solid.
a little
with
Destiny
futuristic
vibes.
guns that have some real pop to them, and some exciting.
I'm just not really into the whole robots and stuff taking over and being the ultimate enemy. That's kind of what I didn't like about some of the things in Destiny. It kind of like threw me off, and I was like, okay, I guess I can sit here and kill it. The other thing that was really good, if y'all ever get a chance to play virtual reality, is Robo Recall. That game was so much fun once I got down, like just pulling guns off of your back and shooting all these things and getting high scores, and like it was just so cool. I really loved that vibe there. I really wish we could get back to that.
special abilities.
But I sold my VR because I don't have a lot of space anymore.
Fall back! Fall back! We need reinforcements. Cover! Bravo,
Yeah.
If you're
like
doing
cool
an
game, dude.
FPS, you know, getting the shooting right, the feedback, the feel is essential. And this game looks like it's got the sauce for it. I'd expect as much, as the people making it are the developers
Is it like an arena shooter?
otherwise
What's going
known
on?
as the newly independent 4A Games Ukraine, the guys who worked on the Metro series. Now, the main 4A
Metro.
Games branch was in Malta, and they're still around, so the situation might be confusing to some, but all that really matters is that these guys aren't up-and-comers. They're veterans, and it seems like they've got some serious
I like
shooter
that
credentials.
experience
Now,
overall.
another interesting thing about this game is the setting. rather than your standard dystopian
pretty good.
setting, this one is set in a futuristic Latin America, which really gives the game its own unique vibe. You know, we've never seen a South American cyberpunk setting, and that gives this game a unique flavor that's usually missing from games like this. It can be played solo or with up to 2 friends, so hopefully this one ends up being the fun roller coaster ride that the trailer really promises. Of course, trailers are one thing, the actual game is another thing, but I don't know. This was a good trailer, man.
There's a
Now at
pacing,
number
vibe,
3,
and flow of it.
Clockwork.
Do you think commentary channels should be held to journalistic standards? Oh God, I hope not. I hope not. I'll have to quit, man. I mean, the things that I say are just dumb. They don't make any sense half the time. I mean, they're mid opinions. I don't mind. But like, come on, man. I hope not.
Clockwork Revolution. Remember this one? It got announced a while back, but from the premise alone, this just looks really intriguing. For one thing, this is coming from In Exile.
I
the
love
guys
the
behind
period
Wasteland
piece,
3, among
like
other
future
things. And they've got the world building
history.
credentials to do something interesting here. And what they've shown of Clockwork Revolution, as much as it wasn't a lot, it does seem ambitious and interesting. It's essentially
It's definitely
a
new.
BioShock-style first-person shooter with everything you'd expect, like
Oh, it's a
wacky
shooter.
steampunk guns, a fantastical setting, and some kind of weird
Steampunk
special
vibes.
abilities that like you can control with your other arm. Making a BioShock
pretty
like
unique,
is exciting
yeah.
enough just because it's been so long
Dishonored
since we've gotten a
vibes.
proper sequel. But
That's what it is,
That's not the
Dishonored.
real draw here.
That was a
The
good
thing
game,
that
too.
really makes Clockwork Revolution unique is what seems to be its time travel mechanic. In this game, you travel through time.
I guess
apparently,
Clockwork makes sense.
Going back
Time
to
travel
key moments,
clocks
and depending on
work.
your choices, they will actually affect what the city becomes. Is it a paradise with a dark side or a full-blown dystopia? The possibilities for reactive storytelling are endless if they really nail it. The big
That's gonna be
question is,
so cool.
how much can you actually change? How
Yeah.
time travel works is still very vague.
Do you guys think that the new AI capabilities are going to make games indefinitely replayable with new options and stuff? Because I think that that's going to be the future, and I'm really excited about it. But also, what's that going to do for video games companies, like actually getting to create new games and revenue? Because if I can just have something AI generated and continuously, kind of like Minecraft, where like you have seeds for worlds, so I can play a different world every single time. Same thing with Rust. I think that's really cool that they can generate those things. I think Valheim's the same way. I don't remember for sure, but yeah, that's kind of how I wish Power World was. Because if Power World was that way, right, then you would have been able to replay it multiple times, and it would have had more playability. You'd have to discover new areas, find the pals that you wanted. Every time would be like a new, fresh playthrough, and you wouldn't just have like your go-to strategy to play through it. That's what I wish there was. Hopefully in Power World 2, there'll be like seeds or something, if that's even going to happen.
Vague. Right now, we have no idea how the system really works or how reactive it even is, or if it's just a linear gimmick. We don't know yet, but this is In Exile we're talking about here. Their entire bread and butter lately has been highly reactive RPGs. So this game could turn out to be something really unique, where you're constantly traveling back and forth in time, trying to figure things out in order to thread the needle and somehow create like an actually good outcome to whatever conflict is driving this story. Look, nobody knows much, but the premise is just rife with possibility. And even though we're probably expecting more than the game can possibly deliver, can't help but get excited just from like the visuals,
I am excited
the
about
world,
that.
all that stuff alone.
Too bad
Now,
all
number
these games
2,
together is be like
Reanimal.
$500.
This is coming from
You kind of
Studio
pick and
Tarsier.
choose.
These are the guys behind the original Little Nightmares games. This game is essentially the real Little Nightmares.
I feel like they put too many kind of horror style games on here. So like, I mean, that's not my genre. That's not my favorite thing, but they did add a lot of those to the list. But maybe those are just so happen to be the best games coming out. Have you ever made a video you later deleted? Actually, I've been considering it. But no, not yet. There's a couple videos in there that just didn't hit, and they might have had some content that just wasn't very shareable or very, yeah. So maybe we'll see. We'll see, man.
3. A different studio
not
is
too picky
working on
about
that.
it.
These guys branched off to do this. They're essentially just kind of continuing what they were doing before with a new name and some different
Gives me,
spins.
like,
And honestly, that's all anyone really needs to get
Unraveled?
hyped about this one, because while it
Unraveled
does all look
vibes.
pretty familiar to fans of their games, it does look even crazier and more intense. Now, like their other games, Reanimal is
creepy.
going to be
Ooh.
a narratively driven, highly scripted, and probably fairly short horror game where you're mostly sneaking around, avoiding weird, gigantic freaks and solving puzzles and
Yeah.
exploring this bizarre, twisted, and beautifully designed world.
Does
Now,
look
again,
cool though.
no
Like, that's
offense
the
to
point of
Little
the game,
Nightmares
right?
3, which is
It's kind of like reading a book, right? Like you read through it once and you know the storyline and then you're done with it. You set it down, you wait for the next one to come out. And I think that linearity, it can be appropriate for some games like this where you're kind of like, it's like an interactive movie as opposed to it. That's what I liked about Stray. Like Stray has zero replayability, but you have different areas that you can go through in Outlaws. I really liked Outlaws, and I kind of like got maybe like 80% of the way through the game, and all that was left was to get all the factions to 100%. And I was like, you know what, I can go around. I really wish there is an expansion, so if there is some expansion going out for Outlaws, just let me know, because I'd like to know a lot about that. I love Star Wars so much. So if y'all ever want to talk Star Wars with me, let's go on, baby.
being developed by Supermassive Games this time around. That game looks pretty good, but there's just something uniquely twisted about the original developer's vision, their takes, that you can really see in Reanimal here, and they're doubling down on it. The leash is off, and they're making what looks like their darkest, most disturbing game yet. I mean, just look at some of these freaks they've shown in the trailer. The game is somehow even more mysterious and grotesque looking than their previous
Yeah,
games.
dude, I got
We're just
chills
really
from that.
excited for the music, the art design, the visuals, and that stuff alone. We're looking forward to playing this one with a friend because it's actually going to be fully playable co-op. Whenever
It kind of gave me It Takes Two mixed with Unraveled vibes, and I liked It Takes Two. I wish I'd played all the way through that, but It Takes Two. I don't have any friends.
it comes out.
Just
The
you guys.
game's release date right now is just a vague coming soon. Now at number 1, this
Okay,
is
let's
a
see what
game
you
we
got.
know very little
got?
about.
Number 1.
Not even the official name, but this one already has us chomping at the bit for more. A
Okay.
completely new IP from the Yakuza studio that looks
Oh, yeah,
unlike anything else
Yakuza.
they've ever done. It's hard not to get
Never
excited
played a game
about
from
this
them.
thing.
I see
as
them
of right
on,
now called
Game Pass,
Project
though.
Century. Look how cool it is. It's set in some kind of alternate universe Japan in 1915, and you play as, well, I don't know who you're playing as, who they are, or what's going on, but it looks awesome.
It does look
Mostly
awesome.
all we got from the Game Awards announcement trailer was a lot of really intriguing shots of this unnamed city and some particularly brutal combat that looks like an evolution of the standard Yakuza beat-em-up combat to make the game more visceral
Maybe
than anything the
Yakuza's the game
studio
I
has
should
made
play then.
previously. The way combat seems to transition seamlessly, the way
wouldn't
you
mind
go
a little
into
linear
and out of
fighting
buildings
game
and move
action
around the environment
with a
just looks
story.
so much more fluid and immersive here. I have no idea what it's about or even what the setting is outside of it being 1915 and in somewhere in Japan, but everything else is a total
else do you
mystery.
need to know
With
than
the
that?
studio,
Like,
RGG, it doesn't
1915
matter
Japan.
what they make. We'll always be there day one or at least be curious, but this one looks especially
I want to see one of those that's like, I guess they already have something like that, but it's just like an open world version of this where it's like 1700s, 1600s, where you could be like either select your class as like a ninja and play that way or a samurai warrior. But that's basically what Assassin's Creed Shadow is, and I can't wait for that game. That's gonna be bomb, man.
intriguing, right? Because like it doesn't look like something completely new for the studio. I mean, the trailer focuses on a lot of beating up dudes in the street of a Japanese city that makes up, the average like 60% of your
bosses.
typical Yakuza game's playtime. But everything else
Yeah.
around that, everything about this one is a big and cool question mark. And we find that very exciting. Who knows when this one's coming out? I mean, it's still called Project something. It doesn't even really, I guess, have an official name right now. Those are 10 games, but we do have some bonus ones. We want to throw in a few indie games here. They
That's a good question. Well Trained asks, would you ever switch to another platform full time? Well, no, because I'm kind of testing all platforms out, and I still haven't gotten the followers that I need in order to start testing live for TikTok. So after that, I'll probably stream for a little while and see which one hits the most. And if they're all doing okay, I might pick to be partner or affiliate with one of them or two of them if they allow that kind of thing. Yeah, no, not really. Let's see what the indies games that they're recommending here is, because I kind of like indie games sometimes too. You
They
know?
might not be as flashy or high profile, but we still wanted to talk about them. Check out Absalom. This recently announced beat 'em up is coming from Dotemu, the guys behind the really good Streets of Rage 4, and this looks like a successor to their really good work on that game. What makes Absalom different is that it's going to be a roguelike beat 'em up with branching paths and random enemy layouts and
Seems very
upgrades
choppy.
and stuff you find along the
Like
way.
anime
It
choppy,
sounds a
like
lot
if
like
you're into that.
Hades,
Oh,
but
that
has
looks
a
a lot
beat 'em up,
smoother.
which just sounds like a really,
Oh yeah, that's
really
a lot
good,
smoother.
creative idea. Something that I would
linear,
like
though.
to play. Also, Abyss X Zero. This crazy looking Mega Man Legends inspired anime action game comes for the developers behind Unsighted, which was good, and this looks even better. The art design is pitch perfect, the action looks
I
crazy.
don't mind the art design.
And you
I
know
think it
we
looks
love
cool.
to see a door getting unlocked. That's always a good sign in a game like this. Just getting something, anything with that clean Legends art style and energy is exciting. And thankfully, this doesn't just look like a tired ripoff or a desperate attempt to revive a dead IP. It looks unique and
Yeah.
inspired in its own right. And lastly, let's wrap up this one with a game that we've heard almost nobody talk about but looks very intriguing, a game called Animal Use Protocol. Made by the developers behind the Status games, this is their first fully 3D games, and it looks disturbing as hell. Animal lovers are gonna probably have a hard time with this one. It looks like you play as this intelligent chimp with a little mouse buddy who has to escape from a horrific animal testing lab. These guys know how to
Basically,
put
like
creepy,
Planet
cute
of the
characters
Apes,
in
like
nightmare
escape room
situations.
style. That's
if you
kinda
did
cool.
play Status or Status Bone Totem, you know what I'm talking about. And this game is all about that. Their games tend to be a little rough around the edges, but their ideas are always fascinating with solid pacing and puzzle design. This looks like their most ambitious game, and it looks stressful as hell, and we really hope it turns out just as good or even better than their previous games. But, like we said, those are 10 or so games that we're pretty hyped about. We hope they're good. Fingers crossed. All you can do is hope for the best, and we're just happy to talk about some random new games today. So let us know in the comments if any of these games intrigued you, or if you have any other kind of weird, different games on your personal list that you just haven't seen a lot of places talk about. Hit us up. And if you like this video and you like talking games with us every day, clicking the like button helps us out. We really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing as well. But either way, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Dude, honestly, that video was pretty good. I like some of the games that were on there. Again, I think that they did a little bit too much of the kind of, what do you call it, horror genre. But I know that horror genres are pretty popular, so maybe they're just doing that because they really are like the best games that are coming out. And they said that they had some OG developers that are coming on. I think that's cool too. Bro's been grinding hard, respect. And I mean, I appreciate you, man. Honestly, I am just doing this for fun. So that's it. I'm just doing it for fun. Thank you guys for being here for it. We've got a couple more videos going on. But you know, what do you guys think about that? Because I don't mind some of the directions that they're coming in on. I know that those are new games. Those are games that like haven't had like prequels or have another version. They're not like just a redo of another version of a game. So you know, those big AAA titles that are really popular and that they get remade a lot. I'm not sure if I'm too upset about it being remade, because I know that I'm going to get something good, right? Because I know that it's going to be awesome. And I don't know, I just feel like it's been a good time. It's been an awesome time for the gaming industry. I think that a lot of the times there's a little bit of stuff that's muddied up a bit. I think that a lot of people get disappointed in games because they have really high expectations. I think that if you have high expectations, you can expect to be disappointed, mostly. I think that we're going to move on to the next video. We had that. We're going to get into some politics now. Trump is cutting $400 million from Columbia University over rampant anti-Semitism.
On Friday, the Trump
This doesn't sound
administration
good.
canceled $400 million of federal funding to Columbia University over its inaction to combat rampant anti-Semitism.
We were just talking about how inaction is being an accomplice to something nowadays. Like, so if you don't do anything, because that's freedom of speech. I'd rather people be able to tell me that they're idiots and morons than for them to be undercover and me not know about them. Isn't that how that should work, right? I want to know these things
on campus. Well, I'm joined by Columbia Assistant Professor Shai Davidai, who has become the face of the pro-Israel movement on campus. Shai, what do you think about this move from President Trump?
Well, I have to say, it's regardless of what you think of the president, you agree with the president, you disagree with the president made promises. The president made certain attempts to let the universities know that this will come if they won't step up their game. They refused to step up their game, and now the president is following up on his promises and giving them the consequences.
Good.
That's what it
I guess
like being in a
it
democracy.
works for you, man.
So here's the question. I think for a lot of folks who see this from the outside, they just kind of see
Gritty
bits and
Ward, thanks for
pieces
the follow,
and they
buddy.
say, "What's the big deal? It's a protest. Protest is allowed. You know, why are you guys making such a big deal out of this?" Can you maybe walk the average folk through? Is there actually anti-Semitism on your campus? What does it actually look like in person?
If you're only tuning in now, that's totally fine. It's better late than never. And I'll tell you this. Over the past week, forget the past year and a half, over the past week, we've had 2 violent takeovers of buildings at Columbia University. One
Where's this
last
in the news?
week, and then when the students didn't get what they want, again, 2 days ago.
You think it's a good take that they took the money away from Columbia?
Takeovers of buildings where the university.
Well, I mean, we are very, very pro-Israel because that's our hub in the Middle East. So I can understand why that would be the case. I think that because we're so pro-Israel in the Middle East, because of it being our hub, that we are going to try to show good faith for the the pro-Israeli movements in the country, and will be a little bit less, anti-Israeli, or some would call it anti-Semitism. But the pro-Palestinian side is also pro, like, Muslim, typically, and I feel like the problem with that is that we were at war with the Muslim populations in the Middle East and factions of terrorists that were Muslim in the middle, extremist Muslims in the Middle East. So we still have that bad taste in our mouths. So, I don't know. Most people just probably don't like, that taste in their mouth from those previous conflicts. So the alternative is to be, if you're not going to be, you might not necessarily be pro Israeli, but you're anti Muslim extremists. So that's kind of where I think a lot of the population's at. If that's a bad take, let me know, right? But that seems to make sense to me, and as far as the general public's concerned.
They refused to do anything about them. They were all wrapped in keffiyehs and masks, so they couldn't even identify them and give consequences to the students that just barged into the buildings and refused to come out with their drums. But worse of all of that, they were giving out printed propaganda of Hamas, a U.S. designated terrorist organization.
Where's the printed flyer? Did you pick one up?
Let me see. Propaganda arm inside the university.
Can we see that?
The university has known about this for a year and a half.
Can you share that with us?
It's been getting so many messages from federal and state government. You have to do something about it. For some reason, they refused to do it. And so the government did the only reasonable thing.
Normative, thank you for the follow, buddy.
In the American way, you don't get American taxpayers' money. Now, there's a lot more taxes that they're getting, and I hope the university now realizes that it's 3.5.
So they are removing $400 million from Columbia University because of them not acting on anti-Semitism. But I can imagine that there's a lot of pro-Israeli stuff there. So you're saying that because they didn't act on that the students there are going to get to see the downsides, the ones that are in their dorms studying instead of being activists. And we're just assuming that, like, what would the students have even done? Like, what would the school have even done? Called the police? Had the police clear them out? There's protests at schools for things all the time. It's a part of the freedom of speech thing. So either they get this, either they allow these people to have their freedom of speech, and sometimes these things get out of control and out of hand on any side of the spectrum, or they get penalized for that, or they stifle their freedom of speech and they get penalized for that. So I think the play was to do nothing and let it play out, depending on if anybody was in danger or anything like that.
$5 billion a year that we're getting is at risk.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading a lot of these reports, is that this might just be the beginning. But quick question, Shai, are you still barred from campus?
I am personally barred from campus
Crazy.
since October 15th,
Why
2024.
is
I
that?
don't know if I told you this. I'm still employed, so I needed books for my office for my work. I asked to come in. They wouldn't let me go into my office
Oh, I guess he was on campus and he did something like that. Yeah.
to get my books.
He
I
did something
asked,
bad and
can
got
my
banned.
wife come in and get my books? And they wouldn't even let
They could mail them to you. It's not that hard. Have somebody go in the office and put them in a box and then take them up. Or yeah, it's not that hard. I don't see what the problem is.
my wife
Give the dude his
get
book
into
back.
the office to get my own
This is a
books and
weird
my own personal
victim
items.
thing to be talking
So I think
about.
for a
They
lot of
wouldn't give me
folks
my
who
books.
look at Ivy League schools like,
Okay.
these ivory towers
Buy
where
more.
there's this total disconnect from reality. Why is the administration so scared of doing something about people openly supporting Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, and these people that committed an absolute massacre? Why is that so, for lack of better words, not kosher for the administration?
I have to unfortunately wake a lot of people up to how these universities are run. Columbia University
I think a lot of the people got shit on for so long in the Palestinian community that they're starting to edge onto the extremist side of things. So although they might not totally agree with Hamas, Hamas is the only people who are like basically fighting for their territories and their rights against the Israeli um, counteroffensive. So it's all like, I'm going to spit on you, you're going to spit on me, I'm going to shove you, you're going to shove me, so now I'm going to punch you, then you're going to punch me, and then now I'm going to kick you, kick me, and then now my friend's going to join in, so my friend's going to join in, and then it just escalates. It's just been escalating this whole time. So it's like, at what point do the people around who are caught in this swarm of things that have nothing to do with it, and are Palestinian, like where do they have to go? Who's going to fight for them? If they fight for themselves, they're Hamas. They don't fight for themselves, they're screwed. So it's like, if fighting for to defend your home or whatever in that country is going to give you some kind of terrorist designation, even though you're not associated with Hamas in any way, shape, or form, but like they don't know that. They just see somebody that's fighting them. But I imagine that if somebody came into your country and into your house and was trying to fight you, you'd probably fight them too. So it's kind of hard to kind of figure out what the deal is with that. And if that's a bad take, let me know. I would really like some opinions on that because, there's things that I don't know. Very rarely, but yeah, sometimes.
is a $14 billion endowed organization. And it's run by a bureaucrat. It's run by mid-level managers, people that are really, really good at what they are supposed to do. But running these organizations is not what they are trained to do. What I've been telling people have been asking me, where is the leadership? And I tell them, there is no leadership at Columbia because we do not have leaders. We have managers that were really, really good at managing their 5-person or 10-person team. Now that they are in charge of 40,000 students, thousands of professors, and 14 billion non-taxed endowment,
Jesus.
they just
Why?
don't know what to do. They are in over their head.
Isn't Colombia super expensive, even though there's a bunch of tax dollars getting forced over to them? Isn't it like super expensive anyways? What's your advice for new commentary YouTubers? Just enjoy doing it, man, because there's not really much payoff for it other than enjoying yourself. At least not at my level. Again, like I'm new. I'm not established yet. I'm just lucky, I guess. And I have a lot of people supporting me as far as friends to help me get started. So, yeah.
Okay, well, Shai, let me
Just
ask you
keep
this
doing it.
last
That's what
question.
my advice is.
For folks who see this and they think to themselves, what am I going to do with this information? How can I help? And I think for a lot of folks, there seems to be this explosion of anti-Semitism from Australia to the UK to your school. And the average Joe is just sitting there being like, what do I do with this? So if my friend here is watching and they know this is wrong, they know that anti-Semitism is not okay, what can my friend here actually do?
Thank you for this question because it's an extreme.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and interrupt him right there. I think that the increase in anti-Semitism has to do with the increase in coverage of this anti-Semitism and the increase in the violence going on against Palestinians. And people are really emotional about Palestinians because we have a very large Muslim population in the world, and they feel like that could be me. These are also Muslims, and we are bonded in a brotherhood because they're Muslim, we're Muslim, and so they feel insulted. And so obviously, it's kind of like there was a lot of hatred against the Japanese people whenever we were in World War I or World War II in the United States, and we had that camp for them, the basically the internment camp for them here in the United States. There's a lot of racism going on there, and then after 9/11, there was a lot of racism going on against Muslims, and it was just because specifically that was the demographic that was the enemy at the time. So that's kind of the vibe that I'm given. Let's see what he has to say. It's
Extremely
probably
important
something
point to make. There's a
biased.
statement that people say in the Middle East. First they come for the Saturday crowd, then they come for the Sunday crowd. Meaning first they come for the Jews, then they come for the Christians. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is not about Israel. This is about the United States of America. If you
Yeah,
listen
right.
to the protesters
The bro just
on
ended the
Columbia's
topic.
campus in downtown New York City, LA, San Francisco, Toronto, wherever you are, they are not just saying death to Israel. They are saying burn it all down with American imperialism, down with the USA. So I appreciate every person's allyship and I stand with my allies, but people have to remember they're not coming for me. They're coming for us. And we have to
I'm not
bring
Christian. They ain't
back
coming for me, dog.
common sense,
I'm a
moderate
non-believer.
strength
It's
to
even worse,
America.
isn't
And
it?
I don't care if you're a liberal, a conservative, a
Oh, I see
Democrat,
you
a
lurking in there,
Republican. Those
buddy.
are
Welcome to
labels.
the movement.
First and foremost, you are an American. You are a Western value individual who
Okay.
believes in these things, basic things of humanity, and you just have to stand up and speak
Do
up.
I take breaks?
We
I absolutely
cannot
do.
let extremists
I don't
from
think
the
I've ever
extreme
streamed longer
left or the
than 3
extreme
hours,
right
to be honest.
take control of the narrative. It's up to us, moderate. I'm a parent. You're a parent. I'm a son to amazing parents myself. I have an amazing wife.
We get it.
We
You have a good
have to
family.
stand up for us, for people, for humanity.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can beat this.
Well, I mean, some people would say that it's really inhumane in order to go into Palestinian territory that was gifted to you by a country that took over after they beat another empire in a war, and then give that land away to a marginalized group of people who felt entitled to it based on historical situations that they had in their heritage, which is kind of a little bit rocky in my opinion. Not that I care either way because I don't live there and I don't really, whatever. I get where both sides are coming from on that. But then moving in whenever they're doing land grabs and stuff like that, because this stuff is actually happening. Like this is actually happening. So I can understand why they would be pissed off and how this conflict could start because nobody ever asked the Palestinians if they could create the nation state of Israel. And the Palestinians that were living there had been living there for generations before they ever showed up. You can make the argument that like Israelis had been at one point in time lived in that land and that they have some kind of ancestral heritage at that land. But I have ancestral heritage in Italy because that's where my family's from. So I can't just go over to Italy and start kicking people off of land just because my ancestors lived there at some point in time. That's not how that works. And it's not moral just because the government says that I can do it. So that's my opinion on it. Like I can understand why they're pissed, but Israelis have the right to do what they want to do in that area based off of what they've been granted. And honestly, it's hard to say that they're doing anything wrong because really the only people who are entitled to land are the people who can keep the land. So that's the same concept that, and that's not my opinion or anything. That's just historically what has happened. If you can't defend your land, somebody will come and take it. And that's what the castle doctrine and stuff is for the United States and why we have such lenient gun laws is because we realize that to be true because we're the ones who did that to the Native Americans. And that's not even unique to us. In the history of the world, that's been the case. The British Empire went into different lands, took it over, and now they own that land. The French, the Spanish. You ever heard of Napoleon? Yeah, he took over a lot of stuff. And that's what Russia's doing now. So basically, the rule is if you can take it and you're willing to sacrifice what it takes to take it, then it's yours. And that's kind of what's going on in Israel right now. And that's kind of why people are hating on it right now. And that's kind of why Hamas exists, because they're trying to defend against that, because they know that that is the truth. They will take that land if you don't keep them from taking it. because that's just the way every country's worked, and that's the way history is. I mean, if that's a bad take, let me know. But seriously.
Guy, toda raba, Shabbat Shalom, my friend.
Thank you so much. And, one thing that I always remind people, I'm wearing this shirt as well. There are still 59 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza, including Idan Alexander, an American citizen, 20 years old kid. So let's get all of them back home.
Yeah, I hope they do get brought back. But, still, the same thing I said holds true. Like, I understand why all this is going on. And if I'm missing anything, please let me know. I know this is a very opinionated topic, and I do like to be well informed before I make a final opinion. You can sway my opinion at any point in time. And if you can, please do. If you have a different view or opinion, let me know, and I will respond back. That was a pretty good video. It kind of like helped me kind of understand a little bit more about that specific take on that subject. And it's a very touchy subject, and there's a lot of people on different sides. Very polarizing subject there. Yeah, it was crazy. So now we're gonna get into more of like a social issue kind of thing. If you're ever wondering why everyone seems to have more money than you, this is why. Why do they have more money than you? Mainly because you spend all your money on stuff that you don't need.
You were falling behind while everyone else was doing better than you, no matter how hard you try.
Oh, cool. This kid already has 3 mansions and $15 million.
If so, then you're not alone. I'm Vincent, and I'm breaking down 6 reasons why you might feel like everyone else has more money than you, and how you can use that to your advantage.
I do feel that way.
The first reason is they made a bad choice, and let me explain. So, back in 2019, one of my coworkers, he posted these incredible photos from his 2-week vacation in Italy. He stayed at the Four Seasons, he ate at Michelin star restaurants, and he flew first class. And here I was sitting dumbfounded
credit card
on my
points?
phone, right?
Anybody?
We both had the same
Anybody
salary.
credit card
we
points?
both worked the same amount of hours and worked at the same time. So I couldn't figure out how he could
lifestyle
afford
creep for
all
you
this.
and not him.
So when he got back from his vacation, I was obviously nosy, and I asked him how he did this, and he just laughed. Turns out he recently broke up with his girl.
Okay, guys.
Have you ever felt like you were falling behind?
I gotta click the record button next time. Okay, I'm missing out on this video. Yeah, if you're ever
everyone else
wondering
is
why
doing
people feel more rich than you, this is why. Why everyone seems to have more money than you,
better
this
than
is
you,
why.
no matter how hard you try.
I can tell you.
This kid already has 3
I do
mansions
feel broke all
and
the time.
$15 million.
If
And if you don't, then
you're not
good.
alone.
Good for you.
I'm Vincent, and I'm breaking down 6 reasons why you might feel like everyone else has more money than you, and how you can use that to your advantage. The first reason is they made a bad choice, and let me explain. So back in 2019, one of my coworkers, he posted these incredible
debt at a
photos
young
from
age?
his
That'll
2-week
do it.
vacation in Italy. He stayed at the Four Seasons, he ate at Michelin star restaurants, and he flew first class. And here I was
Maybe he's got an OnlyFans on the down low, bro.
We both had the same salary. We both worked the same amount of hours and worked at the same time. So I couldn't
he didn't have
figure
crushing
out
debt?
how he could afford
He has
all
8
this.
roommates?
So when he got back from his vacation,
Sleeps on
I
someone's
was
couch?
obviously nosy, and I
Walks
asked
to work?
him
Takes the
how
bus?
he did this, and he just laughed. Turns out he recently broke up with his girlfriend, and he wanted to make her jealous, and now he has to deal with $15,000 in credit card
debt?
Now,
Fucking
unfortunately,
idiot.
we live in a world that
Don't ever do that. You can get travel rewards cards, but don't you ever go into debt for some trip just to make someone jealous. Like, bro, get over it. I mean, it sucks when you do a breakup. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? What do you think people take internet drama too seriously? You think people take internet drama too seriously? I do. I do
rewards
believe that.
visible wealth.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
the car you drive, the clothes you wear, and
internet,
the
bro.
jewelry you own. These things aren't just accessories, they're kind of status symbols. Just like how peacocks flaunt their feathers to attract a mate, people use these things to feel
Peacocking. Use the
validated
word.
in society. But unlike peacocks, we have the option to buy things with money that we don't have. Like most luxury spending is paid for with a lot of debt. In fact, the average American household carries over $7,200 in credit card debt
That's
as
a lot.
of 2024.
I definitely don't have that much debt, thank goodness. Actually, I not in credit cards at least. I got some loans for some things, and I do own my car outright, so that's nice. But like, do y'all have like what's the worst debt that y'all have? I was watching this channel called Caleb Hammer the other day, and they had like $125,000 worth of debt, and they were like 25 years old. How does that happen, right? How do you have that much debt, right? Like, what do you own that's so expensive, right? Cars? Do you have a home? Like, a mortgage would make sense. I don't think they had a mortgage, though. It's insane.
But what's interesting is
Someone tell him he's on the wrong platform. I'm like on everything. I'm just waiting for the TikTok, but I'm on pretty much everything.
In the
Okay,
book The Millionaire
so which
Next
platform
Door,
should I be
the
on?
author discovered that most of the millionaires he surveyed, most of them drove secondhand cars, they shopped at Walmart,
that's what
and
I
they
do.
dressed and
All
looked
these.
like normal people. Meaning most wealthy
Amazon
people
special,
aren't
baby.
here showing off their money
Still
every
broke.
chance they get, because they know it's more important to prioritize saving and investing to actually become financially successful than just signaling it. By the way, if you want to learn how
It's good to have a good defense and it's good to have a good offense. So your offense is your ability to make money. Your defense is your ability to save money. And a lot of people, they have something called lifestyle creep, which is the more money they make, the more money they spend. And the gap right here is if you're spending less and you start making more, you create this nice little gap that you can put in to invest. And when you invest, you'll notice that your stock market returns come in at average 10% for safe returns, but it can be more if you're willing to play it more risky if you're younger and you just have more growing ability. But honestly, like that's the way to go, man. If you're not investing, if you're not saving, then you're living to what are you doing with the money? Are you just putting it into it? Like if you're not saving it, you're spending it. And if you're spending it, then you're going to be screwed whenever you get older because there's no guarantee of retirement, right?
how you can save 1K this month without changing your lifestyle or pinching pennies, I'm
How it
hosting a
works.
completely
You gotta
free
sacrifice.
5-day 1K savings challenge starting
The bigger the sacrifice, the better the payoff. And you have to sacrifice. It can't be forced on you. You have to take it before it's forced on you.
January 6th, where we're going to cover the best saving strategies, tips, and resources that actually work. It's completely free, and if you want to check it out, the link is down below, or you can scan the QR code. If you get to that site and it says it's no longer available, then unfortunately we already reached capacity. Next, you're not really sure what you want in life. Like, I spent years working a job that I wasn't a fan of because I basically followed what everyone else did. Like during my senior year, everyone is looking for a job, but I honestly had no idea what to do. And my parents are immigrants, they have blue collar workers, so they didn't know too much about corporate America or all the different job opportunities available. So it's not like I could just go ask them. But I noticed that some of my smartest friends, they really wanted to work in finance or consulting. So I was like,
to learn
why not?
how money
What's
works.
the worst that can happen? And let me tell you, my God, the worst happened. I was depressed, I felt empty, I was sad every single day that I went there for years. And then one day, I just cracked. I had enough, and I realized that I had never once asked myself if this is what I truly wanted. You see, our brains are hardwired to need some sort of reference point in order to make sense of our world. So if you don't have a clear vision of your own goals, then you're more likely to compare yourself to others and use where they're at to figure out where you should be doing or what you should be doing. There's this thing called this self-determination theory, or SDT, that says that we all have 3 foundational psychological needs that we need met before we can feel comfortable about ourselves. The
Mind,
first
body, soul?
psychological need is autonomy, meaning you feel like you have control over your own life and your own decisions. The next is competence, meaning you feel capable in your skills and what you do. And the third is relatedness, which means that you feel like you belong to a community or have meaningful connections with
Look
people.
at you guys helping
And
me
not
with
being
my
sure
third
of
one.
what you want in life is one of the easiest ways
my
to
relatedness,
make yourself feel
please?
insecure about your own finances. So don't be like me, where I spent years letting other people's definition of success define my own. I think everyone should spend at least one afternoon or two and really sit down and try to figure out what you want. And then start using your past self as a reference point instead of other people. For instance, are you doing better today than you were doing a few years ago? Did you get a job promotion, a pay raise? Did you pick up a new skill? Or did you grow as an individual? The next reason you feel everyone has more money than you is because of how naturally people want to portray themselves. I think it's natural that we all
See
like
the
to take
highlight reel of
pictures
everybody's
or
life.
record videos of moments in our lives that are different from our regular day-to-day. Like, no one out here is actively taking selfies of ourselves, walking into our 9-to-5 job, doing the same thing that we do every Monday to Friday. But when we do something different, like when we go on vacation or we buy something really expensive that we wouldn't normally do or buy, that's when we wipe our phone camera lens and we start turning into professional photographers with all the angles. And since it's human nature to seek validation from other people, we tend to share these pictures with friends and family and even put them on social media.
If I got a Ferrari, y'all are finding out about it,
all
bro.
our social media feeds are just highlight reels of everyone, right?
Have you ever had YouTube demonetize you for no reason? I am actually not monetized, so I actually have made $0 total. So 0. That's a real number.
Like the very best moments of everyone's lives. And there's nothing inherently wrong with any of this, but that's just why everyone seems like they're living it up and spending a lot of money. Most people aren't sharing the normal or the bad stuff they go through, like them paying off their credit card bills or them working overtime to afford something really nice. And even for me, right? I try not to record when I have
Feel free to
pimples
tell
on
me
my
how to
face,
make it
but
better, man.
I've
I'm
been
here for
getting
y'all.
them a lot recently,
And me.
and I can only hold off
Almost like-
recording for so long. So thank you everyone for pointing it out. By the way, if you got any advice for these bad boys, let me know in the comments. The next time you're doom scrolling and you come across one of these highlight reels, just acknowledge that it's okay to feel a little jealous, but just remind yourself that nobody is sharing their normal lives or their everyday struggles happening behind the scenes. So don't measure your financial picture based on what you see on social media.
Can't
It's
do
like
that, man. It's gonna
comparing
be bad
a
for your health,
picture-perfect
your
movie
mental
trailer
health
to
for
the
sure.
actual
Physical health
behind-the-scenes
too.
chaos of what it takes
It's a
to
byproduct.
film a movie. Next, you're focusing too much on visible spending. Now, if you've been following me for a while, then you've heard me constantly say that one of the best ways to build wealth is by consistently investing for the long term. And if you've been doing this, that means that a big part of your spending is invisible.
Investing.
Like you can't go around showing off your 401k or your Roth IRA accounts at a
I
party.
will.
And
Guys, I would definitely do that if it doesn't make me sound like a pompous asshole. But I do love investing. I think it's a fun hobby to have. So it's literally like a hobby for me. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I lose sometimes, I win sometimes. It's worked out for me in general. So I recommend that you do it too. You can get good returns. You can retire without having to worry about some kind of 401.
I know it can get really tough, right? When you see everyone or you hear everyone talking about getting the latest gadgets and gizmos aplenty, and you're just sitting here like, oh yeah, well, I just bought a stock that's gonna help me retire 5 years earlier. Like I remember when all my close friends and I, we started working, right? All of them started getting nicer clothes. No more H&M or Forever 21. It was now strictly Banana Republic or J.
Thrift store, baby. We're saving that money for real. Just because you can afford Versace doesn't mean that you need to buy Versace.
Crew or whatever jazz. One person even bought a brand new Audi just 3 months into his new job. And then there was me, just quietly trying to max out my 401k and HSA accounts and start
Wouldn't
investing.
do that.
Right, like I still wore my old clothes, I had my old phone, and they would always say, damn Vincent, it's time for an upgrade. But fast forward to today, all that invisible spending was what allowed me the freedom to start my own media company. And now those same friends are now asking
Thanks for the copy paste.
me what should they invest in, how can they make more money, etc., etc. And then there's also that one guy who's still paying off his Audi car loan. There's a really interesting take about this in the book, The Psychology of Money, where the author, Morgan Housel, says wealth is what you don't see, right? It's the savings, it's the investments, it's the financial security. It's the peace of mind that comes from having invisible spending and money. And what you see, in other words, what people show you, is often not actual wealth, it's spending. So the next time that you're tempted to splurge because you think everyone else seems to be, remember that true wealth often grows quietly. Your invisible investments may not be Instagram worthy or something you can experience today.
Honestly, if you guys have some great investment tips or you guys did well in investing, you share it with me, bro. I'll share with you.
And not the rule. I remember back in 2021 when Dogecoin, FTX, and GameStop AMC was all the rage, right? I would hear all about these overnight success stories of how people turned $100 into $1 million all over TikTok, Reddit, and even YouTube. You can
say what you want, but that's all luck,
even
man.
I got caught up in the hype, right? But the problem is when most people see these kind of get-rich-quick stories, the immediate natural thought is, that seems doable. Let me give it a go. Which is a survivorship bias hard at work, which is basically when we just focus on the winners of people who made a lot of money, we often ignore the losers, right? We see the guy with the Lamborghini who got rich off of Bitcoin, but we don't see the tens of thousands who lost their savings. And this all happens because of two simple reasons. The first one is people probably feel too embarrassed to publicize losing all their money on a silly, risky gamble. And I mean, I would. And number two, posts about losing money probably aren't going to go viral. So you tend to hear less about it. But if you dig really, really deep, you can actually find some really sad stories of people losing all their money, their life savings, how their nest egg, right?
So the thing you have to realize, right, is that if you are getting money, someone is losing money. There's someone on the other side of that thing that is missing out, that got screwed. So for every great story, success story, there's always some losers. And I feel like people don't think about that enough.
Right? Like even looking at the numbers of comments and likes for these type of stories is nothing compared to how viral the winning stories get. So the next time you see someone post about getting rich on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, whatever, remember
Could be
that's
me,
the
dog.
exception, not the rule. The main thing is to just stay focused on investing for the long term,
Georgianne,
trust the
thanks for the
process,
follow,
and
man.
know that being consistent will pay off
The skill
over
issue,
time.
not making
The
money?
next reason everyone seems to
Absolutely
have
it
more
is.
money than you is sometimes people just do have more money than you. Whether that's because
True.
their parents are rich, they got really lucky, or because they worked really, really hard. I think
Those
too
are the
often
three
people
biggest
spend
options,
their
yeah.
mental energy feeling frustrated or feeling bad for themselves when they see people doing better than them. And
Yeah,
I
that's
say
gonna
this
help
as
you out a
someone
lot,
who
isn't
has
it?
seen both sides, right? I grew up poor. I had free school lunch my entire life. And then I went to a college where, according
free.
to the New York Times, 1 in 4 students came from the 1%. That is the wealthiest of the wealthiest in the world. Kids were driving Maseratis in school. They were wearing Louis Vuitton
Gotta
and,
have the
and wearing it to
LVs,
class
baby.
and flying to Cabo for spring break. And as someone who started literally from the bottom and now can say I've done pretty well for myself, I realized that all the time I spent feeling frustrated in college didn't really achieve anything other than make myself feel bad. What I found really helpful for me was instead of asking myself, why does so-and-so have more money than
What's the wildest theory someone has come up with about you? That I'm cool, that I'm nice, that I've got good takes, that I deserve tips, that I deserve follows.
me? I started asking myself, how did they do it? Or
Very good,
how
yeah.
did their parents do it? And it's this simple rephrase of the question that forces you to work backwards and figure out what their process was, what their behaviors were, what their
Fabricator,
actions, what
thank
their
you for the
habits were
follow.
that
Thank you.
allowed them to build so much wealth, which you might be able to adopt and let it work for you. You see, the shift in questioning is the difference between having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. When you have a fixed mindset, you believe that your abilities, your opportunities, and situations cannot be changed. But if you have a growth mindset, you know that these qualities can be
Open your
changed. So you start
mind.
seeing challenges as
Have a growth
opportunities to
mindset, you
learn and
guys.
improve. And in this
Open your
case,
mind.
referencing someone else's success is a good thing because you're using someone else's journey as a blueprint to follow for yourself, which changes your negative feelings into positive action. And this kind of leads me into something that you've got to start accepting. It's that even if you know all this information, just knowledge and information will only get you so far.
True,
It's
you have to
really
make
taking
action.
that makes
Action,
the
see?
difference. So
Action.
if you actually want to get better with your money, it all
You wanna do
starts with
something, you
what
gotta
you
do
do
it.
with your money after
It's pretty
you get your
straightforward, right?
paycheck. Click here to learn the 10 steps you need to take immediately after you get paid.
I mean, everything that this guy said is a great take. I totally agree with it. You have to have a growth mindset. I know it's kind of like a little buzzword term or whatever. And you have to have faith that you can do it, and you have to go and pursue it. Whenever that people tell you that you need to work backwards from your goal, it's what's your goal, what's required to get to your goal, and then what's a pathway that can get you to a goal, and what's your first step, which might be getting up off the couch. What's your second step, which might be redoing research? What's your third step, which might be identifying what you need to do holistically? What's your fourth step, taking the first step towards the holistic goal, so on and so forth. Eventually, once you keep taking these steps, you get to the point where you want to be. And that's working backwards from the front, and that's what he was saying, and I totally agree with that. And I also agree that you need to live under your means, which means that you need to sacrifice more than you're willing to usually do. The more you sacrifice, the bigger the gap you can make. You can use that money to put towards your financial future. If you start investing, if you start doing well in that and learning that and keeping it in your mind, eventually you can actually retire. You know, wouldn't that be great that you reach the age of 60 years old and you don't have to work anymore, or even sooner if you get lucky, like a lot of these people do. The problem is a lot of people like to get in for the quick money on the back end, and they're not willing to sacrifice until too late. So it's one thing if you want to sell your house in order to pay off all your debts before it gets foreclosed on. Once it gets foreclosed on, then you're screwed. Which means that you might feel like you're sacrificing because you got your house foreclosed on, but the real sacrifice would have been you selling it before you had to. Even though you might have been able to afford something, not buying that thing that you could afford. That's how you can build wealth. That's how that works. Have I ever been in drama with another YouTuber? Bro, I've been doing this for like a month or something. Like there's not another YouTuber out there that even knows about me. So if there is one in the chat or whatever, like that would be cool. If you wanted to start some beef, maybe we can Eminem MGK it, where we are like secretly low key cool with each other, but we start talking trash so we can become relevant again. That'd be pretty dope. If any of y'all want to do that, that'd be great. So you guys,
50% of men.
so we're gonna figure out a couple of things here. First of all, if you really hate my guts, you should follow me and send me some followers, send me some love, and maybe even follow my YouTube channel. You think YouTube is too soft now? Too soft? Possibly, but you know, I'm not very sensitive. I grew up in Xbox Live chats, Xbox 360 live chats. So I am absolutely not very sensitive, whereas other people can be very sensitive. Formused Redhead, welcome to the cause. Thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I remember back in the day, I used to be very, very more like desensitized. We used to watch some pretty bad videos on the internet. We used to trash talk each other. We would dish it out. We would take it. You know, if you went online and there wasn't some form of racism going on towards you, or there wasn't some kind of trash talking going on towards you, then you just you got lucky, because that has never been the case for me. Anybody who's been in a Halo chat or a Call of Duty chat knows that it's the most toxic thing you can go through. So anything that's less than that just doesn't seem very bad. Desensitized completely. Yeah. So that's basically it. Yeah. So let's see. We got another one. That's right. Cool. So I don't know if you knew this. Did you know this? Men are giving up on women, and we're about to find out why with Mr. Chris here.
And aged 18 to 24 have never approached a woman in person in their life.
Because they don't have to.
Like,
it would make
even
sense
higher
for them
percentage, 18 to 30 haven't approached a woman in the last year.
Mm.
Is this downstream from?
Oh no,
Me Too?
my window's all jacked up.
I have a slightly weird take on
My
this,
crashing,
which is that
my
actually
crashing boys.
the thing you hear about as sort of the thing that
What's the
Gen X
hotkey
people
for it?
talk
F?
about of going up to someone in
Oh,
a
it looks
bar
like I'm
and this being a
screwed,
way of
guys. My
striking
computer's
up
messing up. Did I
relationships.
click the
I think
button?
that was a very brief period of history.
I need tech support.
Sort of
Give me
post-sexual
tech
revolution,
support.
but pre-internet, where that was considered
You ever just want to quit and
normal.
disappear? Absolutely
And I'm slightly too
not.
young to have ever actually experienced that.
Honestly, you don't have to, bro. You don't have to talk to girls. You don't have to. You can slide into DMs online. You can take the shotgun approach, where you like reach out to any girl you think's hot. Just spam out those friend requests and then send messages. One of them's gonna be like, "Hey, yeah, that's fine. You're cute, whatever." So just do that. You can do that route. You can go on the dating apps and you can just kind of peacock yourself into being desirable by women and lie to them until it's too late, and do the narcissistic approach. That works. Occasionally you can have friends set you up, or you can hang out with friends a lot. Usually just going out and doing stuff will give you more opportunities to have chances at partnerships with people. So, but if you don't like doing that, then you're screwed. The other thing is you can go online and just like chit chat with girls until you feel comfortable enough to meet up with them, and hopefully they feel comfortable around you too.
The normal way, actually, that people start relationships in the vast
wish I could,
majority of cultures
make
is
this.
to be like, is like
There we go. There we go.
semi-arranged marriage, right? Like not the full you've never met this
Tilted
person
Cream, thanks for the
before, you know,
follow.
13-year-olds,
Wilton,
whatever,
thank
getting
you for the
betrayed,
follow
like,
as
not
well.
like that, but the sort of you're introduced by
Y'all are gonna regret this.
family members, mutual friends, you're known in the community, you go to the same church, whatever it is, and then you're both
felt
of your
comfortable
families
already.
like consent to the marriage, and it works out okay. But
Yeah.
the expectation isn't like the expectation of marriage up until relatively recently was that you would have an economic relationship, and a reproductive relationship, but you weren't best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't think husbands and wives used to talk to each other as much as they do now. I think people used to have much more homosocial kind of lives.
Mm-hmm.
You'd hang out with other men, you'd hang out with other women. You wouldn't necessarily hang out a lot with the opposite sex, including your spouse. So this idea that like the going up to a person in the bar is like the normal and natural way of starting relationships, I don't think is historically accurate.
That's interesting. So
Yeah,
male
why does it have to
aversion.
be historically accurate? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, of course it's not historically accurate. We're in a completely different time and a completely different place and in space in society. And yeah, why would it be arranged marriages anymore? It's super archaic. Sure, it does work, and it seems like it had been working for a long time. But in this modern day and culture, like it's not a necessity really to pick a partner with the right person.
Felt fear of approach anxiety, which every
Mm.
guy listening is aware of, apart from the psychopaths, right? There is a girl that I find attractive that I either know or don't know or partly know or whatever.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you is kind of like a miniature war that you have to go to, and the felt sense of palpable fear
Yeah.
is just ripping you apart inside.
Y'all actually talk to girls?
That
That's insane.
isn't,
Don't do
or
it.
the modern aversion to
trap.
that isn't some novel new problem.
Trap you guys.
It was in your opinion here, a bar that kind of never really needed to be gotten over in the first place in some regards, because you had seen each other at church for ages, or her father owned the farm next to your father's land, and you guys had known blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
So you
People have
were
much more
already
kind of static
associated.
social lives.
Mhm.
So yeah, just approaching some stranger and ending up getting married to her is not.
I had this conversation with a guy called Mads Larsen, who is a mating ideology researcher. I'll send it to you. It's phenomenal, and he talks about this, all of the different arrangements that people went through, and the romantic to the confluent, which is what we've moved through most recently, has left us with a really interesting
The
vestige,
romantic to the
which is
confluence.
previously it was they own the farm next door. It was almost like a tactical marriage between the two of you, and then it's no. You're supposed to, you guys are supposed to be together forever. You know, there is supposed to be deeper meaning instantiated in this. But then as soon as you have the sexual revolution, you have confluence.
Overthinking
So
it
for as long as
entirely.
you can benefit me and I can benefit you, I think even Mia Khalifa, who obviously paragon of sexual virtue,
Heard a lot
said
about
on a
her.
recent interview that people think that marriage is some sacred thing. It's not. It's just a piece of paper. And if this person isn't helping you grow, it's time to move on. So they just
That's a
confluent,
pretty
like
decent take, I guess.
ideology
Yeah.
there. You know,
Helping you grow.
front and center. You need to be
What on
helping
earth
them
does that
grow.
mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll
Helping
tell
you.
you what that means. Helping you grow. It means that they're not stunting your growth. It means that you have something that you need to get done, and they put more wind into your sails. It means a lot of things, and it's a little bit. It's like not even that hard to guess what they mean. It means that they are in your corner. They support you. They are they a good safety net for you, right? So I don't understand what was so confusing about that.
Prepare for your next porn scene. I don't know, whatever she meant. So you have this really interesting thing, which is that both the two most recent cultures have kind of got like conceptual inertia inside of our heads, that we have this sense, and we were kind of told, and maybe some people think that it's true, that you're supposed to find a person who fulfills you, who is your confidant, your best friend, your the sexual paramour, the co-owner of your children and the household and all the rest of the things.
Yeah.
And
A
yet modern
partnership.
culture is
A good
this more
partnership with
confluence
romance.
thing, which is they're supposed to
Compatibility.
benefit you and help you grow. And these two things kind of bounce off against each other. And then, you know, if we look back ancestrally at what we're predisposed for, it's fucking neither of those two, right?
Survival.
Like, you can say what you want about the truthfulness or utility of both
Survival,
of those. It
entirely.
wasn't that.
Mm.
And it seems like serial monogamy is what we're built for, some combination of polygyny and serial monogamy. And all of these, the existing base rate of what we are, plus the two most recent cultures, are just like the Bermuda Triangle of mating ideologies inside of our mind.
Yeah, there's this book called the All or Nothing Marriage, which is about sort of this modern conception of marriage, where
If I were to tell you that I thought that you get about 80% of what you need from your partner, and the other 20 you just kind of have to get over not having, and that's the reason why a lot of people look elsewhere for the other 20% because they feel like a relationship is supposed to be whole, would you say that the percentage is correct? Would you say that the entire thing needs to be thrown out the window? I'd really like to know.
where exactly this, you put so much expectation on your spouse that they will be, you know, you will be perfectly sexually compatible, perfectly like conversationally compatible, everything is perfect. And obviously for loads of people that isn't going to be true, and that's not going to be true for 60 years or whatever that you might be together. And so you end up with this all or nothing thing that like some people have absolutely fabulous marriages and some people just they can't possibly take the strain and so they collapse. And the authors compare it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where like if you're in a situation of economic subsistence, you basically just see your spouse as like your economic partner with whom you have children, but your expectations are not that high.
One
And
way
then
to
you reach
survive
the
in
point where you're so
2025.
affluent, right, in contemporary culture, where you kind of regard marriage as as fulfilling all of these like esoteric psychological needs, which is just not reasonable. So I honestly, this again, Mary Harrington, endlessly quotable. She has this saying that we should abolish big romance.
Yeah.
That the idea of having these
Yeah.
incredible like romantic expectations of your spouse is just pretty much setting yourself up
She's
up to
just
For
a
failure.
one-woman meme machine.
Because
Yeah,
you're gonna
she is.
be really disappointed when you set the expectations that high because people aren't like that. Like, how can you give 100% of yourself to somebody else and then have enough for yourself after that? Math doesn't add up. That math
What
ain't
was your
math, and
thing? It
dog.
was you that reminded me of a story that I'd forgotten from my childhood about ladies dropping handkerchiefs.
Oh,
To
right, as a
signify that
way
they're
of like
interested.
demonstrating.
I've heard of that.
Interest.
Yeah.
So I had this thing with me and David Buss came up with this solution
I know, right?
around women
Kinda cringy.
cultivating receptiveness if they want to improve their dating prospects.
Right.
Now, in a post-Me Too world where we're worried about women's safety, especially sexually, this is something that is kind of
The flag,
difficult
bring
to
it
say.
back.
But again,
Bring
if
back
you
the
want to
flag,
work
you
within the
guys.
confines of how reality is, not how you want it to be, I think that women cultivating receptiveness accounts for the male
Yeah.
approach anxiety problem, right? That, you know, a longer lingering eye than you think, or like, you know, smiling at somebody as opposed
Hard
to
to
doing
tell.
the why men love bitches.
Most people's like, does she like me or not radar is really off. Like, I've had girls that really liked me for dropping hints left and right and had no idea. Oblivious, completely oblivious. And then I know friends of mine who are I'm all like, that girl really likes you, and they're all like, she hasn't done anything. I'm like, she's been staring at you this whole time, my guy. Go talk to her.
Just treat him mean, keep him keen
We don't
kind of
know.
approach.
Men are
We're
gonna
not good
be
at,
so
we're
bad
not
at
intuitive
receiving
like
those
that.
signals, though, don't you think?
You might be.
Have you ever
I'm
heard
not.
that the average man of 130 IQ has the like emotional social receptivity of a woman with 70 IQ? Like the difference. This is why my
So
husband
you're
and
saying
I.
that we're
So it's
actually
just
socially
clownery.
retarded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband and I, like my husband calls me
Okay.
a witch
I mean, like that kind
because
of
I
like
can like
that kind of like they're in agreement of what I said, and then they went to some kind of unrealistic, like extremist point of view about it. That was so stupid. Every time I watch your vids, I learn something new for real. Yeah, me too. Every time I watch these YouTube videos, I learn something new, and it's not always something that I wanted to know.
Oh, you've
I'll
got
be able to like
clairvoyance.
Welcome to the
sense
party.
there's something off
You
with
are
this
particularly witchy today
person.
with the olive as well. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's just women. I think we are just
Witchy.
witchy.
That's why
Witchy.
you were burned at the stake.
You
Bring it
can
back.
just like
Exactly.
sense that something, I don't know,
I see any
facial
wizards burned at the
expressions,
stake,
whatever,
right?
something, which most men are just oblivious to.
Blinkers
With
on.
Sorry.
with some exceptions, clearly,
Well,
but
okay, so yeah, well, let's take that as the thermodynamics of the situation. That
yeah,
men are their EQ is 50% of what a woman's is
yeah,
essentially. If that is the case, leaning in even further to not being receptive is going to make said blinkered man even less capable of understanding that maybe you're interested,
oh
Okay.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I just think that again, another confluence of the Hydra's head of lots of stuff that's going on, the multifactorial problem. Women are maybe being a little bit more masculine, working in more masculine environments, thinking they need to be more disagreeable to be more effective at work, concerned about their own safety, generally skeptical of men that come up to them, strange men that come up to them in a bar, which has led
I don't
to
see any
absolutely
problems
less
with those
receptivity from
those
women. And it's
preconceptions.
like, look, if you are complaining like, where are all of the good men at? Look around a little bit if you can when you're at your CrossFit class or you're doing yoga or you're doing whatever. And if some guy comes up to you and asks some awkward, clunky question, but he's kind of cute, like, don't just presume that he's asking the question. Like, use the
Yeah.
witch clairvoyance, right? Tap into
They
the
turn it
astral
off.
realm or whatever it is that you do,
Selective
yeah,
and think,
witchiness.
oh,
That's what it must
yeah.
be,
have you heard of
guys.
the
I think I
male
figured it out.
overperception and the female
I think I know the
underperception
answers.
bias?
Is
What else
this
is
with
new?
sexual interest?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in David Buss's book, that men overestimate the degree of interest that women have to them, and women underestimate, which is largely why you have
I've
awkward
never
passes by
overestimated.
male co-workers and stuff. Well, what do you mean? Like her eyes, and you saw the way that she looked at me every time we went to the copy machine or whatever.
And
it's
you know,
like,
alcohol exaggerates
That's
that.
reaching. That's called
does it really?
reaching.
Yeah. So
Wow.
men are more likely to falsely
Apparently, if
perceive
you ask
sexual
my
interest
chat, I
when
do
they're
it all the
drunk.
time.
Fantastic.
Which again, it just makes so much sense of all the, you know, like, were you you know that there was like Me Too but for schools in the UK a few years ago.
No.
It was called Everyone's Invited. It was like a website that some girls set up to describe like bad sexual experiences that they'd had with what
In
they
school?
well, not normally in school. This was the thing. So it ended up being a big headache for teachers and head teachers, because parents were obviously really upset, understandably. And they said,
What
you
do
know,
the
you should be
teachers have to
teaching
do with
consent
that?
workshops in schools. You should be doing all these things. And the teachers were
Consent
like, this isn't happening
workshops?
in school.
Okay.
Very rarely is this
That might
happening
be
in
helpful.
school. This is normally happening Friday night at some house party. The parents aren't there. Everyone's drunk.
Oh. So
Like,
it's
it's
not.
kind of the parents'
Yeah.
responsibility,
How do you
honestly,
want
to
to
stop that
step
from.
in?
Yeah, and it's like, look, you've got horny young men raised on porn plus alcohol. Young women often giving confusing signals. I mean, one of the things that like teenage girls just don't understand, bless them, is like if you say dress in revealing clothes because you want to attract a particular man, that the blast
It's a
radius
net.
of that signal.
It's
Do you
a
know what I
dirty
mean?
Cast a wide
Yeah,
net,
like
guys.
I was getting a train recently in London, and there was a schoolgirl who was probably like 16 who was walking ahead of me, and she was going up the stairs, and she was wearing such a short skirt going to school that I could see absolutely everything. And I almost jogged after her just to say, like, you're lucky it was me who was walking behind you. And I know that you're doing this because you want to feel, there is a kind
Yeah,
of
tell her why
thrill of
she's doing
feeling
it.
sexy
Mhm.
that young women experience for the first time.
Mhm.
And they have no idea
The
how
power.
potent and dangerous that tool is. So, you know, you do it because there's a particular guy who gets the same train as you, who you want to catch his eye or whatever, fine. But like, I could have been a creepy bloke. And this is why I think parents have
Maybe
to
she
be
is a creepy bloke.
banning their daughters from leaving the house looking like that,
If a guy had
basically.
said all that shit, they'd
Because
have
they have
been
no
like,
idea. Like, teenage
"Why are
girls
you
are
even
just,
looking?" You know what I
I mean,
mean?
teenagers are dumb.
The sort of Me Too
That's
conversation
a
around
general
victim
question
blaming
or a statement.
and stuff is
Teenagers
such
are
a
dumb.
deep hole when you get into it. To talk about, should things be this way? No. Are
Mm,
things this way? Yes.
mm.
Do you want to play within the confines of the thermodynamics of this particular system?
He
Well,
loves
you
that word,
probably should,
thermodynamics.
right?
Always
And
taking the
to
temperature.
thread that needle,
Exactly. No one
especially
asks.
because I often think about this. Douglas Murray once taught me that it doesn't really matter who makes the best logical argument in a debate. If you manage to get 2 or 3 big laughs, you win.
Yes, it's true.
And
That's
it's
true.
almost
It's all
this.
vibes.
Yep, it's just vibe. You're a vibe
Yeah,
architect, right?
yeah.
And the problem with this discussion, if you have somebody who is very
Yeah.
anti this and is saying that's victim blaming, you absolutely, you saying that you're giving men a pass, you're saying that women should be fearful of what they should wear, and it's like that particular talking point is so empathetically robust in its signaling that it almost always wins,
Yeah.
because the most
Because you can't disagree with it, or else you're a piece
obviously
of shit.
caring argument up front that sounds like the one that sounds right, that sounds like the
The
one that
most
you'll get the most
moral.
support for on Twitter,
Mm.
is so tough to. It's like, right, yeah, no, I don't disagree, but look at the outcomes that we get
Called
from
virtue
this.
signaling. There's
One
a
of the
term
things
for
that
it.
progressives really have on their side rhetorically is that if you're a conservative who's saying, look, actually, you know, there was a line that one of my readers sent me from all places. It was a book about making wine, and the line was, traditions are experiments that worked.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
You can say that when you're talking about winemaking, and it's not too like politically explosive, but you can
Yeah.
obviously apply that to
I see where
to-
she's
to
getting.
social issues
so
as well.
perfect.
I know it's
Just
not a
because
great
people
line.
don't want to hear it
Experiments
doesn't mean
that
it's
Exactly.
not kind of true.
But what you end up, if you're trying to make that argument, and if you
But what works changes over time. As the landscape changes, so does the strategy and the tactics. So what works in one condition, given the same condition in the future, with variability changes, small adjustments need to be made, or large ones, or the plan needs to be abandoned entirely.
If you're, proposing anything remotely conservative, is that you end up having to defend other cultures or cultures of the past. So you'll say, look, actually, there was a lot to be said for the sort of slightly arranged marriage. There's a lot to be said for teenage girls being encouraged to dress more modestly, whatever. And people say, oh, what? So you're saying that you support domestic violence? You're saying that you support, cholera and imperialism and like everything that might have happened
Measles,
during the era
mumps.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you have to say, no, I don't, you just end up at the back foot. Whereas if you're a progressive, you can say, I can see this vision, like in the future we'll have this amazing society where everything's great. And the fact that this has
I
never
want to be in
happened,
the
or is never likely
utopia.
to happen,
It'd be
means that
fun.
you're never in the position of having to defend anything unfortunate. You
Mhm.
never have to talk about trade-offs. I think that like acknowledging the existence of
Why
trade-offs
have a
is a
trade-off when you
fundamentally
could just not,
conservative
right?
trait.
Yeah. Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Yeah, it's really
Right.
painful, but it's true, unfortunately.
Well, there's
In
no
other
no
news,
wrong answers, only
this
trade-offs.
episode
That's
is brought to you
that's the
by
thing.
Cozy Earth. We sleep
Yeah.
1/3 of our lives. Do not spend 33% of your life in anything other than unbeatably comfortable sheets. Getting a good night's sleep is the ultimate game changer, and the
Y'all
sheets
want to
that
get
you
me in the
have are a
sheets?
massive determinant of just how comfortable you feel. Cozy Earth has
Come on,
the
chat.
most premium bedding and
What do you think?
loungewear that I've ever found. They're made from
Come
super
over.
soft viscose from highly sustainable bamboo, temperature regulating so you will sleep comfortably all year round, and an enhanced weave quality that won't pill. So it's
Been
higher
great.
quality, will
You guys
last
are
longer,
awesome.
and you will have a more comfortable night's sleep and wake up feeling more rested and revitalized.
You
Plus,
guys have been
there
great
is a
tonight. I
10-year
appreciate
warranty
your
on all of their
support,
products.
and
That's
I
how confident
appreciate
they
you
are
helping
that
me.
they're going to last.
And
But
if you
don't just take my
can,
word for it.
follow.
Oprah has chosen
If
Cozy
you
Earth
like the
as one of her
content. If you want
favorite
to do this
things
again
for
sometime.
5 years in a row
Second
now.
date,
You
please.
can get an
Second date.
exclusive 35%
How you
discount
feeling?
site-wide
Second
on
date.
everything by going to cozyearth.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom35 at checkout. cozyearth.com/modernwisdom and modernwisdom at checkout. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip with Louise, then press here for the full-length 2-hour-long
Nope, not gonna do that. But maybe y'all should. If y'all really enjoyed that content, y'all should definitely watch the rest of that. Yeah, so honestly, it's not a surprise to me at all that men don't want to approach women anymore. It's not a surprise to me that you kind of have to have a partner of some kind in order to get ahead in life, especially if you want to live above your means. You need a dual income household. There's something called a DINK. Should be that. Dual income, no kids. That's the best way to get by, although it doesn't help the GDP in the future, and you're incentivized to have children, but they're always going to be more expensive than the benefits of it. If you're into that thing, you should definitely do it. Other than that, try to stay single, try to live your life the way you want. If you need to have a partner in order to feel successful or to feel loved or to fill that pit in your soul, then do that. Yep, so I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the follows. But I am going to get off. So you guys have a good night, and I really appreciate you again. And I'll say that word appreciate a lot because that's what I do. I appreciate you. Have a good night.